Chapter 315, Impossible. Chapter 315, Impossible. Thump. A boundless blood river surged forth, forming waves that rippled along the surface of the river. Tan Feng was surrounded by the blood river and felt an astonishing killing intent from all directions. His complexion changed slightly. But at this time, while holding the triple kill sword, Jian Wushuang gave him a cold look. Meanwhile, his slaughter domain and sword realm also began filling the area. The combination of road to the underworld, slaughter domain, and sword sea. Suppress. Jian Wuxianag shouted in a low voice. Rumbling. The boundless blood river surged and began to suppress Tan Feng, directly and crazily. Tan Feng also released his domain. However, the suppression from the blood river was pushing him backward. He felt an unprecedented effect on him and was even out of breath. What? Tan Feng's eyes dilated as he sensed how difficult it was for him to move. He could no longer remain calm. 60%, my strength was suppressed by 60%. How is this possible? Tan Feng gave an astonished look. He was a top expert who mastered his domain. Yet his strength was being suppressed by 60%, even when he used his domain at full power. Without his domain, he might not even have 10% of his strength. What on earth is this blood river? How can it be so powerful? Tan Feng was astounded. However, he had no idea that the power of the blood river was the combination of road to the underworld, slaughter domain, and sword sea. One of them was a secret skill, while the others were an origin domain and a sword skill. All three were domains. Therefore, their power could be superimposed. Among them, the strongest was road to the underworld, followed by slaughter domain, with sword sea being the weakest. Road to the underworld was powerful enough to shatter Tan Feng's domain and suppress his strength. Now, with the combination of the three, its power was unstoppable and suppressed 60% of his strength even when Tan Feng executed his domain. Boom! A series of blasts were heard. Jian Wushuang held the triple kill sword, while radiating a dense killing intent, like a Shura from the boundless underworld. His eyes contained a glimmering red light when he appeared in front of Tan Feng. With an overwhelming power, the triple kill sword slashed through the air at an odd angle, stabbing towards Tan Feng. The moment the sword light struck outwards, the triple kill sword's strength surged and it began radiating the power of a first-grade magic weapon. Surrounding blood river crazily churned and an intangible power reinforced Jian Wushuang's strength, causing the power of the sword light to surge once again. A gloomy dignity appeared in Tan Feng's face. Seeing the exceedingly powerful sword light piercing towards him, he was no longer being careless. He waved his withered palms and focused the power of his whole domain towards his palms. At the same time, the center of his palms began gleaming with a dazzling golden light. Mountain Crusher! Tan Feng roared. His palms surrounded by the dazzling golden light slapped against the space in front of him. The whole area jolted and the space his palm passed through was shaking crazily. Then, there was a collision. Bang! A loud thundering sound was heard throughout the whole area. Then, there was a subtle sound, at which time Tan Feng's eyes immediately widened. The dense golden light from his palms formed crack that began to rapidly grow larger. An instant later, the golden light disappeared and the sword light continued forward without losing any power. Tan Feng had a frightened look. The next moment, he covered his body with the force of gale and thunderbolt. Swoosh! Tan Feng seemed to turn into a lightning and then he disappeared. Jian Wushuang frowned because his sword lost its target. While looking around, he noticed a lightning flashing through the blood river, rushing towards the perimeter of the blood river. You want to escape? Then the blood river rose and formed a blood-red palm before the lightning. The blood-red palm contained a mighty power as it slammed down towards Tan Feng, just like swatting a mosquito. What's this? The sudden change caused Tan Feng's expression to change sharply. He had no time to parry the bloody palm and was forced to move backwards. While moving, Tan Feng did his best to maintain his balance. However, he suddenly sensed an unprecedented danger coming towards him. He turned his head and realized a cold sword light had appeared behind him. Bang! The sword light contained an explosive force that easily pierced his body, leaving behind a hole that ran straight through him. Tan Feng murmured unwillingly. Before he died, he firmly stared at Jian Wushuang's long sword. He knew the sword. That sword should belong to Leng Wushuang. Tan Feng's eyes were empty as he thought about that. Jian Wushuang coldly stood in the center of the blood river, watching as Tan Feng's life faded. Jian Wushuang had a peculiar smile on his face. Then he said, in a relaxed manner, "A month ago, I was completely miserable as you chased me. Your death at my hands today was fate." Hearing this, Tan Feng was shocked. A month ago, wasn't it Jian Wushuang that he had chased so miserably? With his strength, he would seldom chase someone. This year, he had only chased 2 people. And a month ago, what was his identity? Impossible! Impossible! Tan Feng crazily shook his head and roared furiously from the bottom of his heart. Impossible! He had no reason to believe that this person was the man he had chased to death a month ago. He had definitely killed that man a month ago and his corpse had been handed over to Holy Emperor Palace. How could he still be alive? Jian Wushuang said nothing as he stretched out his hand to take off his wicked blood-red mask. Then a young and handsome face appeared. Seeing this familiar face, Tan Feng was utterly muddled. "Yes, it's him," Tan Feng muttered. Although his breath grew weaker, he was still shocked. He definitely remembered killing Jian Wushuang and handing over his body. However, he was still alive. Not only did Jian Wushuang not die, he had also killed him today. It had only been 1 month. A month ago, Jian Wushuang was thoroughly defeated, even after desperately executing the secret skill which could devour natural power. But now, with only the strength of 1 person and 1 sword, Jian Wushuang absolutely overpowered Tan Feng, without even executing his trump card. Tan Feng was unable to escape and was eventually killed. 1 month. Tan Feng closed his eyes and a self-deprecating smile appeared on his face. The bottom of his heart was filled with one sentence. What kind of monster did I provoke a month ago? Chapter 316, Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt. Chapter 316, Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt. The battle between Jian Wushuang and Tan Feng was striking and had attracted the attention of many warriors surrounding the 9th Heaven Mansion. When those warriors saw Tan Feng lose his life, and watched as his body slowly fell down, they all felt astonished. After the astonishment, loud shouts were heard. Tan Feng actually died? Nan killed Tan Feng. It's a big event, a big event. The numerous surrounding warriors were extremely excited. However, Jian Wushuang appeared very calm. A month ago, in Jian Wushuang's eyes, Tan Feng was so strong that Jian Wushuang was unable to counter him even with his full strength and the soul-devouring secret skill. But a month later, his strength had made major progress. Once his cultivation reached the peak of the Yang Void Realm, Jian Wushuang was no longer weaker than an average Saint Realm expert, regarding the sheer power he could release. The combination of Road to the Underworld, Slaughter Domain, and Sword Sea suppressed Tan Feng and routed his domain. Tan Feng could only display 40% of his strength, but Jian Wushuang was actually strengthened by the power of Road to the Underworld. Tan Feng's loss and Jian Wushuang's gain. In addition, as a first-grade magic weapon, how incredible was the power released by the triple kill sword. All those resulted in Tan Feng being overpowered by Jian Wushuang, even though his domain was at the 2nd stage, which was a powerful skill that concentrated the power of the whole domain. Tan Feng was overpowered, surrounded by Road to the Underworld with no chance to escape, and then he was killed by Jian Wushuang in the end. After killing Tan Feng, Jian Wushuang discontinued Road to the Underworld. After all, the skill consumed too much spiritual power. After which, he donned the wicked blood-red mask again before appearing beside Tan Feng's body. With only a wave of his hand, Tan Feng's interspatial ring floated toward Jian Wushuang. He skimmed through the contents and smiled. A month ago, he had no choice but to discard all his treasures and his second body, to gain a sliver of a chance to live. But now, after killing Tan Feng, he not only regained his treasures, he also gained plenty of purple crystal spiritual liquid and treasure that Tan Feng spent his whole life collecting. Tan Feng's corpse was also stored in the interspatial ring by Jian Wushuang. After all, it was the corpse of a Saint Realm expert. Tan Feng had already formed a saintly body, so his body would not be rot after he died. Jian Wushuang might have a use for it in the future. After completing those, Jian Wushuang turned around and headed towards the ninth heaven mansion. Whoosh! 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 A mass of experts from the ninth heaven mansion appeared beside Jian Wushuang. One of them, a black-clothed woman at the half-saint level, said, "I am He Lin, mansion master. We will go to great lengths to do whatever you order." The other experts from the ninth heaven mansion were all kneeling in front of Jian Wushuang. Tan Feng was the ninth heaven mansion master. Now, Jian Wushuang killed him, so he was the new ninth heaven mansion master. Those experts from the ninth heaven mansion would follow his commands. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and waved his hands, gesturing for them to disperse. Then he entered into a secret chamber in the ninth heaven mansion alone, and He Lin stood guard outside respectfully. In the secret chamber, Jian Wushuang sat with legs crossed. A black long spear and a manual appeared in his hands. He got Tan Feng's interspatial ring, which contained many treasures, including cultivation methods, manuals, and elixirs. Several of the treasures were so valuable that Saint Realm experts would be willing to battle for them. But Jian Wushuang did not care for those treasures. What he valued were the two things in his hands. This black long spear was a superior third-grade magic weapon with great power. As for the manual, it was a superior second-grade manual. Those two things should be the reward from Holy Emperor Palace that Tan Feng received for handing over my second body. Jian Wushuang smiled secretly. Not only Tan Feng, even the Holy Emperor Palace believed he had been killed. But, he was still alive. Now, the two treasures had become his for such a cheap price. Though the long spear is powerful, it's useless to me, so I will swap it for other treasures. Jian Wushuang looked at the black long spear. After waving his hands, Jian Wushuang placed the spear into his interspatial ring. Then, Jian Wushuang looked at the manual. Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt. Jian Wushuang was startled. It was a superior second-grade manual, which was appealing enough to make many experts of the Saint Realm crazy in the Nanyang continent. Then Jian Wushuang began to flip through the manual. 1 hour later, he had an astonished expression after closing the manual. The manual contained a body skill called Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt. When it was used, the force of Gale and Thunderbolt were combined, and its speed was like lightning. The lightning Tan Feng displayed should be from the manual. Jian Wushuang secretly thought. The speed of the thunder light Tan Feng formed when escaping was so fast that it surprised Jian Wushuang. Most importantly, when Tan Feng was being suppressed by the blood river formed from road to the underworld, his speed could only reach 30% at most. However, the speed of the thunder light form was still astonishing. If the skill was used while not being restricted, how fast would it be? The manual is really nice, but I don't quite meet the requirements. Jian Wushuang frowned. After carefully reading through it, he understood that Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt was most suitable for experts who comprehended Gale origin or Thunderbolt origin. If not satiate one of them, it was hard to master the manual unless the assistance of Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt. Jian Wushuang had comprehended both World Origin and Slaughter Origin, with World Origin including everything between heaven and earth. However, it was not the same as comprehending Gale Origin and Thunderbolt Origin. If I want to cultivate this skill, I will have to get a Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt. Jian Wushuang secretly thought. Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt was a really rare natural treasure that was highly valued. Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt was the only treasure that could help an expert who comprehended other origins learn Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt. Hey Lin, Jian Wushuang said, spreading his voice over the area. Hey Lin stopped guarding outside and came into the secret chamber. She said respectfully, Master, what can I do for you? Did Tan Feng order you to search for information regarding Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt? Jian Wushuang asked. Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt? Hey Lin nodded slightly and said, a half-month ago, Tan Feng asked us to find some Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt. Have you uncovered anything? Jian Wushuang asked again. Yes. Hey Lin replied, it said that the Lord of Diqian Prefecture found a Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt many years ago. After hearing that, Tan Feng met the Lord of Diqian Prefecture and attempted to trade for it. But something went wrong and Tan Feng failed to get it. He was even thrown out by the Lord of Diqian Prefecture. Chapter 317, Senior, is it you? Chapter 317, Senior, is it you? Kicked out? Jian Wushuang was startled. 21 large prefectures, 21 mansion masters with great strength. As for the Lord of Diqian Prefecture, Jian Wushuang knew he was indeed a super expert who ranked third on the Blood Moon list. Even though Tan Feng had mastered a second stage domain, he only ranked 9th on the Blood Moon list. So, the Lord of Diqian Prefecture, who ranked third, was definitely much stronger. Jian Wushuang deduced that the Lord of Diqian Prefecture was likely to have reached the pinnacle of the origin he comprehended. As long as I'm alive, Holy Emperor Palace will spare no effort to kill me. Although I am quite powerful, I'm still not strong enough to protect myself. But the Wrath of Gale and Thunder is of great use, so I want to learn it. Jian Wushuang looked dignified. It seems that I must visit the Lord of Diqian Prefecture in person. Are you going to visit the Lord of Diqian Prefecture? Hey Lin asked in a surprise. Can't I? Jian Wushuang asked indifferently. It's nothing. But it is said that the Lord of Diqian Prefecture has an odd temper. Be careful when you meet him, Mansion Master, Hey Lin said. An odd temper? Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, showing that he did not care. The next day, Jian Wushuang left for Diqian Prefecture. Diqian Prefecture was one of the 21 large prefectures, but it had an extremely high status among them. The Lord of Diqian Prefecture was recognized as a super expert who ranked top 3 in the whole Tang dynasty, which caused other experts to revere him. Dressed in a bloody robe and wearing a wicked bloody mask, Jian Wushuang appeared in the air above the Diqian Prefecture. Stop! Several shadows appeared in succession above the Diqian Prefecture, headed by a young man with bloody hair. Would you please tell your lord that Nan has come to visit him, said Jian Wushuang. Nan? The one ranked 9th on the Blood Moon list, who killed Tan Feng and took his place as the 9th Heaven Mansion. The young man with bloody hair was shocked. News that Jian Wushuang killed Tan Feng and became the new 9th Heaven Mansion Master had already spread throughout the Tang dynasty. His new rank was updated on the Blood Moon list. So it was only natural that the guards in the Diqian Prefecture knew about it. Please wait a moment, sir. I will inform the Mansion Master right away. The young man with bloody hair slightly saluted him and went to deliver the message. A few moments later. Sire, come in and have a talk. A vigorous and forceful voice was heard coming from the mission. Jian Wushuang smiled and strode forward without any hindrance from the guards. Jian Wushuang quickly made his way to the meeting hall. In the main position of the hall, a white-haired elder stood calmly with his arms folded. He stood there like a sculpture, motionless and with no breath. A light flashed through Jian Wushuang's eyes as soon as he entered the hall and saw the back of this white-haired elder. It reminded him of someone he had seen before. At that moment, the sculpture-like white-haired elder began to move and turned around. Once Jian Wushuang was able to see the real appearance of the white-haired elder, his eyes suddenly widened in astonishment. Senior, is it you? Jian Wushuang asked with a hint of surprise. Senior? The white-haired elder stroked his white beard while smiling, then said, Have you met me before? Jian Wushuang smiled and said nothing. After remembering that he was wearing the wicked bloody mask, Jian Wushuang took the mask off and revealed his own appearance. Junior Jian Wushuang greets Senior Wine Master. Jian Wushuang saluted solemnly. Wine Master. The elder in front of Jian Wushuang was the Lord of Ditian Prefecture who ranked top 3 in the Tang dynasty. Jian Wushuang had only seen him once, when the elder took Yang Zishuan as his personal disciple. Wine Master left a deep impression on Jian Wushuang, not only because he was the first expert of the Saint realm that Jian Wushuang met, but also because he was the master of Yang Zishuan. What he didn't expect was that Wine Master was the Lord of Ditian Prefecture. Oh? Wine Master looked at Jian Wushuang and instantly remembered Jian Wushuang once he heard his name. Jian Wushuang. Nan. Wine Master smiled and said, "Several days ago, I heard that Tan Feng was killed. I was curious about who did it, but I never thought it was you. The first time I met you, you were merely a young guy in the Gold Core realm. You have made great progress in such a short time. Compared to you, that disciple of mine is far behind. You flatter me, senior." Jian Wushuang was very modesty and asked, "Where is Yang Zishuan?" There was a hint of expectation deep in Jian Wushuang's heart. Jian Wushuang hadn't seen Yang Zishuan for a long time. Previously, in the easternmost hunt, Yang Zishuan's arm was chopped off. Jian Wushuang wondered whether he had taken the purple fire body-shaping elixir and recovered. A few days ago, he was bitterly defeated by someone. After recovering from his injury, he immediately went into seclusion. He might finish it in several days, Wine Master answered. Yang Zishuan was defeated by someone? Who was it? Jian Wushuang asked with curiosity. The one that defeated him was the same Tan Feng who you just killed, Wine Master laughed. What? Jian Wushuang was really surprised. Yang Zishuan had a competition with Tan Feng? Senior Wine Master, what the hell is going on? Jian Wushuang immediately asked. Some time ago, that Ninth Heaven Mansion Master, Tan Feng, came here to meet me and wanted to trade for the Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt, but I refused. Jian Wushuang listened to him seriously. The reason I refused was not that I was reluctant to part with the Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt, nor was his treasure not valuable enough. On the contrary, he was sincere enough to bring very valuable treasures. They were definitely worth exchanging for a piece of Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt. In truth, it was my disciple, or to be precise, you, that caused me to refuse, said Wine Master. Because of me? Jian Wushuang was shocked. The news that the Holy Emperor Palace offered a reward for your arrest was spread throughout the whole Nanyang continent. I couldn't possibly don't know about it. However, 1 month ago, I heard that Tan Feng killed you and he got the reward from the Holy Emperor Palace. Wine Master looked over at Jian Wushuang. My disciple is close to you. When he heard Tan Feng was here, he immediately tried to take revenge. It was a pity though, he was not strong enough and was defeated by Tan Feng. Because of my disciple, I naturally can't give the Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt to Tan Feng, so I kicked him out. That's it? Jian Wushuang asked while smiling faintly. He had heard from He Lin that Tan Feng failed to exchange for the Divine Wood of Gale and Thunderbolt in the Ditian Prefecture, and was kicked out by the Lord of Ditian Prefecture. At first, he was very curious why. But now, he realized that he himself was the reason. And my disciples suffered a lot after being defeated by Tan Feng, so he immediately entered seclusion. But I arranged it for him. Not surprisingly, after he finishes his seclusion, he will barely be able to contend with Tan Feng, Wine Master said confidently. Chapter 318, Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt. Chapter 318, Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt. He'll barely be able to contend with Tan Feng? Jian Wushuang felt both surprised and frightened. They had been apart for no more than 2 years. During this period, Jian Wushuang made great progress in such a short time because of the heavenly creation skill and opportunities from the ancestors' land and nature residence. But Yang Zishuan had also made frightful progress. Truly worthy of being my second brother. Jian Wushuang laughed, feeling proud of Yang Zishuan. Yang Zixuan was inherently a peerless genius with an impassive character and an indomitable spirit. Previously, in the Tianzong dynasty, which was just a weak and small dynasty, he had cultivated by himself with very little guidance. Thus, his talent could not be completely revealed. It was not until he acknowledged Wine Master as his master that his true potential talent had been realized. "So, why are you here today?" Wine Master asked as he sat down on the chair, smiling and looking at Jian Wuxuang. "Senior Wine Master, why I am here today is for the same reason Tan Feng came that day. I want the divine wood of Gale and Thunderbolt," Jian Wuxuang said directly. Wine Master nodded slightly and was not surprised. Tan Feng got the wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt, so he needed the divine wood of Gale and Thunderbolt to assist him in cultivating it. Now, you have killed Tan Feng and his wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt belongs to you. It seems that you are quite interested in that superior second-grade manual. Jian Wuxuang smiled faintly and said, "I sincerely hope Senior can help me. It's just a piece of divine wood of Gale and Thunderbolt. It is not of great use to me. If not for my disciple, I would have exchanged it with Tan Feng when he brought those treasures here." Wine Master smiled and said, "You can have it." "Thanks a lot," Jian Wuxuang said with surprise, "I will also give you plenty of treasures." Wine Master frowned, then he suddenly lowered his voice and said, "Yesterday I was informed that the alchemy school has something urgent to consult with me and my disciple about. In a few days, alchemy school experts will pay a visit here. It is normal for them to consult me. After all, their master and I are good friends. I have turned to the alchemy school for help several times and I owe the alchemy school. It is natural for the alchemy school to ask me for help when something inconvenient happens. But it also involves my disciple, which is interesting." Hearing this, Jian Wuxuang could not help smiling. The alchemy school had a good relationship with Wine Master, but not with Yang Zixuan. But now something out of the ordinary was happening, so there was only one answer. This implied that Wang Yuan was involved in it and he was coming here with alchemy school experts in several days. "Wang Yuan has something urgent to speak about with Yang Zixuan?" Jian Wuxuang asked while touching his nose. "Young guy, stay at the Ditian prefecture for a few days. My disciple will finish his seclusion in 2 days," Wine Master said. "It would be my pleasure," Jian Wuxuang said and nodded seriously. That day, Wine Master gave the divine wood of Gale and Thunderbolt to Jian Wuxuang in exchange for some treasures. It would be much easier to cultivate Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt with the assistance of the divine wood of Gale and Thunderbolt. Jian Wuxuang also had found a secret chamber to begin his comprehension. 3 days later, in the center of a huge martial arts practice field of the Ditian prefecture, Jian Wuxuang calmly stood, surrounded by a heavy force of Gale and Thunderbolt, as well as a vague cracking sound. A hint of sharp light was shining in Jian Wuxuang's eyes as he suddenly moved. Shwa! A flash of lightning flashed and appeared at the end of the martial arts practice field. But, in the very next moment, it came back to its original position. There was a 1,000-meter distance between the starting point and the ending point, but the lightning finished its journey there and back within the blink of an eye. How fast! It's so fast! Jian Wuxuang was very excited. The Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt was worthy of being a superior second-grade manual. It was very powerful. Although Jian Wuxuang only had an initial mastery of it, his speed after transforming into the lightning was 3-fold faster than his normal peak speed. 3-fold? That was a huge gap. Because of this, Jian Wuxuang realized that Tan Feng hadn't mastered the Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt previously. If he had, he would have been much faster. Even with the suppression from Road to the Underworld, Jian Wuxuang might not have been able to kill him. Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt is a body skill. The greatest advantage is not the instantaneous speed but the flexibility of movement. Jian Wuxuang looked up and released the force of Gale and Thunderbolt again. Whoosh! 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 A lightning flashed in quick succession and changed directions several times. For a moment, weird shadows clothed in lightning appeared on the martial arts practice field. All of them were residual shadows caused by Jian Wushuang's speed. In an instant, hundreds of residual shadows appeared on the martial arts practice field. Those residual shadows were all the same, making it impossible to figure out where Jian Wushuang was. Boom! A thick cloud of thunderbolt landed on the ground of the martial arts practice field, immediately causing the ground to crack. Jian Wushuang finally appeared from inside the lightning. Wonderful! The feeling is wonderful. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. It really was quite wonderful. When a person zoomed through an area and made a sudden pause or changed their direction, their speed would normally slow down a little. But by using the Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt, he would not suffer any obstructions. His movements were as smooth as a fish swimming in water. Instant speed. Instant change of direction. Instant deceleration. No obstructions. Everything was smooth. If, in the future, I meet an expert who is stronger than me, and I can't defeat them, at least I will be able to flee or fight with him using the speed from the Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt. Jian Wushuang felt secretly happy. At that exact moment. Boom! An aura abruptly surged toward the sky from inside the Ditian prefecture. The aura possessed a force that seemed to look down on everything and contain an overwhelming pressure. It seemed that the owner of this aura was an immortal king who could impose his will on everything. Jian Wushuang immediately looked towards the source of that terrifying aura. What an imposing aura! Jian Wushuang thought while gazing. Imposing? Generally speaking, only those with a high status, like the monarch of a dynasty, some sect masters, or some powerful leaders, would naturally have such an imposing pressure. But this pressure didn't usually come from someone's aura. Now, this rising aura possessed an overwhelming pressure. It was really amazing. Is Yang Zishuan about to exit his seclusion? Jian Wushuang was looking forward to it. However, Jian Wushuang could kill Tan Feng, so Jian Wushuang's battle strength must be superior to his. Jian Wushuang also had a general understanding of Yang Zishuan's strength. A predestined warrior. That was Jian Wushuang's commentary to Yang Zishuan. With real strength reserved, Yang Zishuan's battle strength was at best equal to a normal expert of the Saint Realm, but once he used his full energy to demonstrate High Heaven technique, his strength would rise up to a brand new level with the Heaven Breath's blessing, and surely could confront with those experts that mastered the second domain like Tan Feng. 2 days later, when Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan were exchanging their thoughts and experiences on the martial arts practice field, a huge figure stepped across the courtyard and ran in. Just after entering the martial arts practice field, his hearty laughter sounded out. "Ha, second brother, third brother, it's been a long time since I saw you. I missed you guys so much." Wang Yuan rushed to Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan. Big brother, Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan stood up, with a hint of smile on their faces. Wang Yuan ran over to them, and gave both Yang Zishuan and Jian Wushuang a big hug. "Second brother, how does your repaired arm feel?" Wang Yuan looked at Yang Zishuan and asked. "Not bad." Yang Zishuan moved his left arm. His left arm had been cut off. Later Wine Master obtained a purple fire body-shaping elixir from alchemy school and repaired his arm with it. The repaired arm was almost the exact same as the original one. "Third brother," Wang Yuan looked over to Jian Wushuang, "1 month ago, I heard that you were killed by a man named Tan Feng, and he took your body to the Holy Emperor Palace for a reward. I didn't believe it at that time. I would never believe that you would die so easily. Looks like I'm right." "Ha, it was just a cover," Jian Wushuang smiled. "Tan Feng has already been killed by me." "Oh?" Wang Yuan's expression changed. "I heard that Tan Feng was an expert of the Saint Realm with great strength, and even mastered domain. You could kill him, my brother?" "Gee, that's awesome." Jian Wushuang shrugged casually. "Well, we can hardly get together, so we must have a drink today. I was going to drink with third brother before, but he said we need to wait for you to drink together." Yang Zishuan said. I'm afraid we don't have time to drink. Wang Yuan shook his head, and his face stiffened. The reason why I came here today is to discuss something really urgent with you and Wine Master. It is better since third brother is also here. What is the matter? Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan looked at Wang Yuan immediately. It is about little sister, Wang Yuan said with a low voice. Little sister? Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold immediately. When he was still in Tianzong dynasty, Jian Wushuang had heard from Wang Yuan that Su Ro was in a very special position in Ice Nether Valley. The master behind her might do something harmful to her. Jian Wushuang was very concerned about it. But at that time his strength was too weak and he was not certain whether master would be against little sister, so he could do nothing but let Wang Yuan take care of Su Ro. Now, since Wang Yuan came to them for Su Ro, something must have happened to her. Not long ago, Yi Chen, the master of Ice Nether Valley, sent invitations to all the powerful forces in Nanyang continent. 10 days later, he and little sister will hold their wedding ceremony in Ice Nether Valley. Chapter 320, Destroy. Kill. Eliminate. Chapter 320, Destroy. Kill. Eliminate. What? Wedding? Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan were both startled. This is the invitation card that Yi Chen sent to all the sections. You can have a look. Wang Yuan took out an invitation card. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan gave it a quick browse. Sure enough, it was an invitation for the experts of all the clans to attend the wedding ceremony in 10 days. Little sister is marrying Yi Chen. Is she doing this willingly? Jian Wushuang asked. I suppose she is. Wang Yuan nodded. You guys may not know yet, but little sister is an orphan. Her clan was massacred when she was very little, and she was taken by the enemy. The Yi Chen happened to pass by and rescued her, and even avenged her by eliminating the people that killed her family. Ever since then, little sister has been with Yi Chen. Before she met us, she considered Yi Chen as her only family, and no one could take his place from little sister. So if Yi Chen said that he wanted to marry her, she would probably not reject him. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan both frowned. Since little sister was willing to perform the wedding without being threatened, they could not do anything other than send their blessings. If that's all, I wouldn't say anything, as long as he treats little sister well with all his heart. However, I found out something strange not long ago, Wang Yuan said solemnly. Something strange? What is it? Jian Wushuang asked. I performed some investigations and found out that the force that destroyed little sister's whole clan had been in contact with Ice Nether Valley previously, Wang Yuan said. What? Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan looked at Wang Yuan immediately. I looked into it and found out that Blissful Island, the power that eliminated little sister's clan, had been in close contact with Ice Nether Valley, and both little sister's clan and Blissful Island were in a middle-sized empire. Why would a person with such a prominent status like Yi Chen go there for no reason and happen to rescue little sister? Wang Yuan narrated. I felt that this was strange at that time, and so I asked my people to investigate it. I finally received some information a few days ago. What is it? Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. The result is, Blissful Island was an affiliated power with Ice Nether Valley. It was Ice Nether Valley that ordered Blissful Island to eliminate Little Sister's clan, and the one who gave the order was probably Master Yi Chen. Wang Yuan said. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan were both astonished. Is this true? Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold immediately. I confirmed it over and over, and it was really an order given by Ice Nether Valley, Wang Yuan said. As far as I know, our little sister has a very special body attribute and can achieve great things. Yi Chen may be interested in this, so he asked Blissful Island to slaughter little sister's family and saved little sister himself. He also performed revenge for her to make her deeply grateful to him so that she would obey anything he said. What a good strategy! And what it cost him was not much, just Blissful Island, a little force. Jian Wushuang's and Yang Zishuan's eyes turned cold in an instant. Brother Yuan, do you have any evidence of this? Jian Wushuang asked. Of course I have the evidence, Wang Yuan smiled coldly, and then he waved his hand to reveal a stack of information reports gathered by Alchemy School. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan looked through these reports, and Jian Wushuang's face became sullen instantly. There was indeed actual evidence. It was confirmed that Ice Nether Valley gave the order to eliminate Little Sister's clan, and that Yi Chen was definitely involved with it. Finding out this matter is the reason why I called and informed you, Wang Yuan said. Little Sister doesn't know this, does she? Jian Wushuang asked coldly. Of course she doesn't. How could she want to marry Yi Chen if she knew this? Wang Yuan said. Third brother, what are you going to do? Wang Yuan looked over to Jian Wushuang. What am I going to do? It's simple, I will stop the wedding and kill Yi Chen. If Ice Nether Valley stands in my way, I will eliminate it too. Jian Wushuang's voice was frozen with a frightening coldness in his eyes. Besides his father Jian Nantian, Jian Wushuang cared for his brothers and sister most in this world. Jian Wushuang regarded his little sister Su Rou as his biological sister, so how could him let her be bullied like this? I'm also going to follow you, Yang Zishuan nodded, also with great coldness in his eyes. We think the same. We brothers must cause chaos on the wedding 10 days later for little sister, Wang Yuan smiled, and stretched out his fist. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan looked at each other, and then also put forward their fists. The three fists bumped together. In an attic in Ditian Prefecture. You are planning to destroy the wedding in Ice Nether Valley in 10 days? And you want my help? Wine Master raised his eyebrows, and looked over at Jian Wushuang and his brothers. Yes, we really hope you can give us a hand, Master. Yang Zishuan said solemnly. Wang Yuan and Jian Wushuang also looked at Wine Master with expectation. After all, Ice Nether Valley was one of the 3 valleys in Nanyang continent, which was even more powerful than Wilderness Sword Sect and Daluo Heaven Sect. Only Alchemy School and Holy Emperor Palace could possibly defeat it in the whole Nanyang continent. So it was impossible to cause trouble at the sect with merely Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan. And Wang Yuan. Although Wang Yuan was the young master of the Alchemy School, there were too many restrictions in Alchemy School, so he couldn't bring many experts. Therefore, they could only use their own influence to invite some experts, and the first person they invited was Wine Master. Holding a pot of wine and swirling it slowly, the Wine Master murmured, Ice Nether Valley, one of the 3 valleys, and the strongest of them, is not easy to be messed. But it will really be interesting if we can stop the wedding and humiliate them. So you agree to help us? Wang Yuan quickly asked. Wine Master smiled slightly, but looked over to Yang Zishuan. My disciple has never asked anything from me since he called me master, so how can I say no? However, Ice Nether Valley has great strength, so only counting on us to create chaos at the wedding is not enough. We have to find other people for help. No sooner had Wine Master finished his words, whoosh! Whoosh! 2 figures suddenly appeared in the attic. One of the 2 figures was a strong and handsome middle-aged man, and the other was a woman with a natural and graceful appearance. Wind and Rain Immortals. Looking at the 2 people who appeared in the attic, a slight smile emerged on Wine Master's face. Wine Master, the middle-aged man and the graceful woman said. Chapter 321, The 6 Experts of the Saint Realm. Chapter 321, The 6 Experts of the Saint Realm. They are the Wind and Rain Immortals. Wang Yuan introduced the 2 newcomers to Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan. They too have ascended to transcendence for a long time and mastered domain. Their skills are so strong that they can rank in the top 10 of the Blood Moon list in the Tang dynasty. Oh? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Experts of the Saint Realm who have mastered domain can be at the peak of the whole Nanyang continent. He thought. The Wind and Rain Immortals owe our alchemy school a favor, so I let my father invite them here after some difficulties, Wang Yuan said helplessly. The relationship between our alchemy school and the Holy Emperor Palace is like fire and water. Thus the Holy Emperor Palace would not offend Ice Nether Valley just for me, the young master of the alchemy school. I had my father invite these two to help in the current situation, which is a good result for now. Jian Wushuang nodded gently to show his understanding. The wind and rain, two immortals, me, together with you two young guys, are still inadequate in scale, the wine master said quietly. I have a good friend. She is an unrestrained solitary expert. I'll try to send messages to her and see whether she will join us. Thank you, master. Yang Zishuan expressed thanks immediately. We're very grateful for your help. Jian Wushuang and Wang Yuan also expressed their gratitude. But even if I invite that good friend of mine here, we are still a little weak, the wine master said pensively. This is the Tang dynasty. There are numerous outstanding experts fond of killing. As long as you can afford the price to invite one or two experts, there would be no big difficulty with this plan, the Wind Immortal said in a solemn way. Speaking of treasures, I have one here. Jian Wushuang opened his hands, and a long pitch-black spear appeared in his hands immediately. The long pitch-dark spear was held in the hand of Jian Wushuang, vaguely releasing formidable energy. Superior third-grade magic weapon. Seeing the long pitch-dark spear, the people around showed surprise in their eyes. A superior third-grade magic weapon would capture the hearts of many experts of the Saint Realm. Nice. The wine master nodded slightly. I know a powerful person who is good at spear techniques. He has been looking for a suitable magic weapon. If we invite him at the cost of this superior third-grade magic weapon, I think he would agree to come help. In addition, you have Wrath of Gale and Thunder. On the Blood Moon list of the Tang dynasty, the 6th-ranked old weirdo Yunyuan has lived for many years. He has aspired to obtain the most powerful skill manual which would help him perform formidable skills. What he most yearned for is Wrath of Gale and Thunder in the Holy Emperor Palace. As long as you gave him this manual, I can assure you that he would absolutely try his best to assist you. A joyful expression appeared on the face of Jian Wushuang. The Wrath of Gale and Thunder is a superior second-grade manual, so the Holy Emperor Palace valued it highly. When the Holy Emperor Palace handed it to Tan Feng, they had made an agreement that Tan Feng could not impart this manual to anyone else. But now Tan Feng was killed by Jian Wushuang, and this manual fell into his hands. He could do whatever he wanted, without caring about the Holy Emperor Palace. I have no problem giving him the Wrath of Gale and Thunder, Jian Wushuang said without any hesitation. With the help of those two, our force is strong enough. Although we cannot wipe out the entire Ice Nether Valley, it should be enough for us to create a mess there, the wine master said with a smile. In that case, we will rely on you to invite them, Senior, Jian Wushuang said. The wine master nodded gently, and then he left immediately to send the invitations. 3 days later, the 6 experts of the Saint Realm gathered together in the Diqian Prefecture. The 6 experts of the Saint Realm sat on the chairs of the lobby respectively, and at the top sat the wine master impressively. The wine master was well known in the Nanyang continent for hundreds of years. He even ranked 3rd on the Blood Moon list of the Tang dynasty. It was said that he had attained the pinnacle in his comprehension of origin many years ago. He was strong enough to be considered one of the top experts in the Nanyang continent. Beside the wine master sat a black-clothed woman. She looked old with wrinkles on her face, but her eyes were clear and bright. With a faint smile on lips, she sat there at ease, and looked quite affable. This black-clothed woman was actually the good friend of the wine master, known as Lady Black in the Nanyang continent. Lady Black was renowned for a long time. Although she was slightly less mighty than the wine master, the gap between them was quite small. She had already mastered the 3rd stage of the domain, just a step's distance from the pinnacle. Below the wine master and Lady Black sat the Wind and Rain Immortals. They were qualified enough to rank the top 10 on the Blood Moon list, and they were not weaker than Tan Feng, who was killed by Jian Wushuang. As for the last 2 experts of the Saint Realm, one was an old fellow. His messy hair and sackcloth made him look quite haggard. This elder was actually old weirdo Yunyang. He was a real old monster, for he had lived longer than all the people there. However, the skills of this old monster were unfathomable. Although he just mastered 2nd stage domain, it was said an expert who had mastered third-stage domain could not defeat him. Now, on the Blood Moon list of the Tang dynasty, the old weirdo Yunyang ranked the 6th. The other one was a red-haired old man, who looked cold. The most eye-catching characteristic was his red eyebrows. Qi Mei was not very famous on the Nanyang continent, but he was renowned in the Tang dynasty and ranked 13th on the Blood Moon list. Although his rank was a little lower, he was still an expert who had mastered the domain. The 6 experts of saints, together with Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan, made up the battle formation for the plan. This battle formation could be said to be very formidable. Distinguished guests, I think you know the plan. Jian Wushuang mainly set his eyes on the old weirdo Yunyang and Qi Mei when he said these words. In the heart of Jian Wushuang, 4 of the 6 experts of immortals could be seen as teammates on his own side. But the other 2 were different, for they were only here for the superior third-grade magic weapon and Wrath of Gale and Thunder, thus the relationship between them and him was just like an employer and employee. I know. Old weirdo Yunyang nodded his head carelessly. Aha, Ice Nether Valley, one of the 3 valleys, I thought you were mad when I heard you were going to attack Ice Nether Valley. But now it seems a little interesting, Qi Mei said with a somber laugh. Meanwhile, his eyes glanced at the experts one by one. Wine Master, Lady Black, the Wind and Rain Immortals, and even Old Weirdo Monster are here. What a magnificent scene! Without a strong team, how would we dare to challenge Ice Nether Valley? Jian Wushuang said in a piercingly cold voice. They 3 brothers were the leaders in the plan. Due to the special identity of Wang Yuan, it was inconvenient for him to appear personally. Yang Zixuan was cold in temperament and not fond of talking. Naturally, all the things in this plan would be decided by Jian Wushuang himself. Little guy, who are you? So many experts are here, so who gave you, a little guy of the Yang Void Realm, permission to speak? Qi Mei glanced at Jian Wushuang while emanating an overwhelming aura. Facing the suppression of the aura, Jian Wushuang showed an indifferent expression, as if the aura were a cool breeze. Chapter 322, Overawe. Chapter 322, Overawe. Oh? Qi Mei could not help but be surprised. He was an expert of the Saint Realm. Faced with his powerful aura, even an expert at the peak of the Yang Void Realm or the Half-Saint Realm would shiver in horror. At this moment, even though Jian Wushuang was suppressed by his aura, he was still as cool as a cucumber. Mr. Qi Mei, you don't need to know who I am. You only need to know that what you want is in my hands. Jian Wushuang turned his hand over, taking out the long pitch-black spear and the Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt manual. The eyes of Qi Mei and old weirdo Yunyang both lit up. They came here for those 2 treasures, so they attached great importance to them. I'll give you the 2 items after everything is done, as long as both of you follow my orders during this trip to the Ice Nether Valley. Do you have any problem with that? Jian Wushuang said coldly. Fine. Old weirdo Yunyang nodded without hesitation. He had been longing for the Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt manual, so he cherished this rare chance. Qi Mei twitched his eyebrows. After thinking for a while, he casually said, What I want is in your hands, so it's only natural that I have to follow your orders. Hearing what Qi Mei said, Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and noticed a hint of disdain flash through Qi Mei's eyes. Jian Wushuang speculated that Qi Mei might only be pretending to agree. He was not sure whether Qi Mei would obey his orders once they arrived at Ice Nether Valley. Qi Mei must think I am young, so he's unwilling to follow a boy's order. Jian Wushuang sneered in his heart. Then he said, Mr. Qi Mei, I heard you rank 13th on the Blood Moon list. So what? Qi Mei replied and shot a glance at Jian Wushuang. I've been looking forward to fighting with some experts who are ranked close to the top. Elder Wine Master and Elder Yunyang rank too high. Mr. Qi Mei, only you happen to meet my requirement. I don't know whether Mr. Qi Mei would like to teach me some moves. Jian Wushuang said indifferently. You want to fight with me? Qi Mei was a bit surprised. It's just a small request. I don't think Mr. Qi Mei will refuse, right? Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Qi Mei replied coldly, refuse? Of course I won't refuse. He sneered while thinking in his heart. The boy is too reckless. If not for the superior third-grade magic weapon, I wouldn't pay him any mind. He hasn't even reached the half-saint level. How could he be qualified to speak to me? Now he dares to challenge me. Fine, let me teach him a lesson so he understands his position. Qi Mei had made up his mind to give him a heavy blow. Since it's decided, please come with me, Jian Wushuang said. Then they walked outside. The experts in the hall all had an odd expression on their faces. Wine Master, who is that little guy? He dared to challenge Qi Mei. Lady Black asked slowly. I saw Qi Mei's expression. I'm afraid the little guy is going to suffer a lot. Qi Mei probably wants to give him a heavy blow. The Wind and Rain Immortals spoke. A heavy blow? Hee, it's uncertain who will deliver the heavy blow, the Wine Master said with a smile. Oh? Lady Black, the Wind and Rain Immortals, and old weirdo Yunyang all looked toward the Wine Master. Let's go have a look. With an enigmatic expression, the Wine Master moved and appeared up in the air outside. Wine Master, what did you mean? Lady Black and others immediately followed him. Watch carefully. The Wine Master did not explain. Instead, he wore a slight smile. Lady Black, the Wind and Rain Immortals, and old weirdo Yunyang did not know Jian Wushuang's real identity, but the Wine Master and Yang Zixuan were very clear about it. They knew that Jian Wushuang killed Tan Feng and that Qi Mei, who ranked 13th on the Blood Moon list, was weaker than Tan Feng. Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei stood up in the air, hundreds of feet apart. Boy, come on, show me your strength, Qi Mei shouted with a careless look. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, but thought. In this world, no matter where you are, powerful people will be respected. I'm paying a lot to invite them, but if I am not strong enough, it will be hard for me to control them. This trip to Ice Nether Valley is quite different. There will be lots of accidents. If we are not careful, we might lose the whole game. I have to convince them to follow my orders, so I need them to be overawed by me. Thinking of this, Jian Wushuang launched an attack with an enormous amount of spiritual power crazily gushing out. Azura's secret skill, Road to the Underworld. Jian Wushuang wanted to shock them, so he had to use his full strength. With that in mind, he didn't waste time and performed Road to the Underworld directly. The blood-red river spread out. At the same time, his Slaughter Domain and Realm of Sword Essence instantly formed as well. The combination of Road to the Underworld, Slaughter Domain, and Sword Sea. Go! Jian Wushuang shouted. The blood-red river moved to cover Qi Mei and suppress his body. Qi Mei was originally standing there with a casual look. He did not put Jian Wushuang in his eyes, because he thought the little boy was just in the Yang Void realm. He did not take this fight seriously. However, when the blood-red river surged toward him. Boom! Qi Mei suddenly lost his balance and nearly fell down. What? Qi Mei's expression changed immediately. He felt the scary pressure from the blood-red river. In an instant, it suppressed 90% of his strength. Domain. Shocked, Qi Mei immediately performed his own domain. Though it helped relieve some pressure, 70% of his strength was still suppressed. Meanwhile, Jian Wushuang began to move. A streak of light suddenly flashed through the blood river, flying across the hundreds of feet between them. Jian Wushuang appeared in front of Qi Mei and slashed at him with his powerful purple longsword. Qi Mei was surprised. A long scarlet spear appeared in his hand and quietly lashed out. He pushed the power of the spear to its limit and tried to block the stroke. After they collided with each other. Pang! Qi Mei suddenly fell down like a shooting star. He smashed into the martial arts practice field, causing a huge hole to appear, that was dozens of meters deep. At the bottom of the hole, Qi Mei spent quite a while standing up. Mr. Qi Mei, do you want to continue the fight? Jian Wushuang stood at the center of the Blood River. With his roaring killing intent, he was just like Shura from hell as his voice resounded through the area. Chi Mei failed. Chapter 323, Ice Nether Valley. Chapter 323, Ice Nether Valley. Upon hearing this, Chi Mei blushed. He eventually calmed down and reacted with a wry smile. Whoosh! Chi Mei flew out of the huge hole. After landing on the ground, he looked up towards Jian Wushuang and slowly bowed to him. You're powerful. I am not your match. If I offended you, I hope you can forgive me. As for this trip to Ice Nether Valley, I'll do my best and follow your orders. Jian Wushuang grinned and the Blood River started to dissipate. Lady Black, the Wind and Rain Immortals, and old weirdo Yunyang were all astonished. They did not expect that Jian Wushuang, an expert at the peak of the Yang Void Realm, could completely defeat Chi Mei with such overwhelming power. They were surprised at the power of the Blood River. The Blood River. How could it be so powerful? Lady Black asked and frowned. It should be a high-level skill. Wine Master smiled and continued, if my guess is right, it should be a combination of 3 different techniques. The Wine Master added, the first one is Slaughter Domain. The second is the Realm of Sword Essence. I've heard about it from the Daluo Heavens sect, and I've seen an expert of the Daluo Heavens sect perform it before. It's a special type of sword skill. As for the last one, it's the most powerful, but I have no idea what it was. Although Jian Wushuang and Chi Mei had only fought for a short while, the onlookers had noticed something unusual. They all knew that Jian Wushuang was able to defeat Chi Mei because of the Blood River. The Blood River destroyed Chi Mei's domain and suppressed 70% of his strength. They had never seen such a terrifying skill. Except for Wine Master, they thought that if they were stuck in that Blood River, they would have the same ending as Chi Mei. Wine Master, you already knew about his strength, right? Lady Black looked toward the Wine Master and asked. I didn't know his real strength, but I know about his battle results. Have you heard of Tan Feng? Wine Master asked with a smile. Tan Feng? I know of him. Old weirdo Yunyang spoke first. He ranked 9th on the Blood Moon list and had reached the 2nd stage domain. He was powerful. I fought with him previously, but I barely had the upper hand. I heard that he was killed by an expert called a Nan. That boy is Nan. Wine Master said with a smile. Old weirdo Yunyang was shocked. The Wind and Rain Immortals and Lady Black looked at each other. They immediately understood why the Wine Master was so confident about this fight. Jian Wushuang killed Tan Feng, who was stronger than Chi Mei, so it would be easy for him to defeat Chi Mei. Yang Zixuan, who had been silent, looked serious. He had fought with Jian Wushuang several times in Ditian Prefecture, but he had not seen his real strength, because Jian Wushuang restricted his own strength. Third brother's strength has reached such a high level. Right now, I'm a bit weaker than him, but, in the future. At that moment, Jian Wushuang and Chi Mei came over. Nan, you're so powerful. It's a real eye-opener. Old weirdo Yunyang looked toward Jian Wushuang and said with a smile. Nan? Chi Mei was surprised and immediately recalled the name that was spreading across the Tang dynasty. He immediately understood and looked toward Jian Wushuang with a hint of respect. It was normal. The powerful would be respected. He thought Jian Wushuang was a boy of the Yang Void Realm, so he was unwilling to obey his orders. However, now he knew Jian Wushuang's identity and his real strength, so he did not dare to disrespect him. Moreover, he was being offered a reward, so he had no reason to disobey the young man. You can call me Swordsman, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Swordsman? Old weirdo Yunyang nodded slightly. This trip to Ice Nether Valley is very important. If we go there together, we will attract too much attention, so we'd better go there separately, Jian Wushuang continued. That's what I thought too, the Wine Master said and nodded. Jian Wushuang asked Chi Mei to go with him, and the other 6 could set off by themselves. Jian Wushuang was worried that the irritable Qi Mei would cause some trouble on the way, so he wanted to keep an eye on this expert. If he was accompanied by Jian Wushuang, Qi Mei would behave himself. With that, they left for Ice Nether Valley. Ice Nether Valley was located at the peak of the mountains. Surrounded by the many giant mountains, it looked as if the moon was being embraced by a myriad of stars. At the peak of the giant mountain, a black-robed girl sat alone, looking at the vast sky with a hint of puzzlement in her eyes. It seemed that she wanted to find her answer somewhere in the sky. Little Ro. A gentle voice came from behind her. A handsome young man in beautiful clothes walked over. He was followed by a black-clothed elder, who looked like a servant. Master. Su Ro stood up and spoke. Still calling me master? Yichen wore a faint smile and said in a loving tone. Su Ro lowered her head. She looked shy. A few days later, we will be married. You should have a good rest. Don't think too much, Yichen said. Okay, Su Ro responded unenthusiastically. It's cold here. You'd better go back now, Yichen added. Su Ro bowed slightly and then left. Only Yichen and the white-haired elder were left. Yichen's expression changed and he began to look somewhat maniacal. 8 days. 8 more days, then her extreme body will be mine. I have waited for this day for a long time, Yichen roared hysterically. It was true. He had waited for more than 10 years. A dozen years ago, he met Su Ro for the first time and recognized Su Ro's unusual constitution. It was similar to the extreme body that he read about in an ancient book. After several tests, he eventually confirmed that Su Ro had an extreme body. It was a legendary and miraculous constitution. Chapter 324, The Tricolor Hylan Vine. Chapter 324, The Tricolor Hylan Vine. The legendary extreme body was extremely powerful. Once it took form, it would have the power to destroy the world. But it had a disadvantage. It could not bear even a hint of yang qi. Therefore, the owner of the extreme body had to ensure that she remained a virgin. Once she had sex with someone, her extreme body would immediately ruin her, and she would be doomed to die. The one who had sex with her would gain a lot. Yichen used some tricks to get Su Ro to join their valley. Then he spent a lot of energy looking after Su Ro so that she would be loyal to him. Everything he had done was aimed towards getting Su Ro's extreme body. I have raised and pampered her for more than 10 years. In only 8 days, it will be time for her to repay me. Yichen stood there with a distorted smile. The white-haired elder beside him wore a faint smile, without saying a word. As the young master of Ice Nether Valley, Yichen was the most outstanding genius among this year's disciples. The news that he invited experts from every force or sect to his wedding had spread throughout the whole Nanyang continent. Yichen had a good reputation in the Nanyang continent. Moreover, he was the young master of Ice Nether Valley. Thus, the experts from each force or sect would give him face and attend his wedding. Though many solitary warriors did not receive the invitation, they could still come to the wedding. Ice Nether Valley spread the news that they would welcome everyone on the wedding day. That was why a large number of warriors traveled to Ice Nether Valley. There was a city near the mountain gate of Ice Nether Valley. The gate would be opened on the day before the wedding. Many solitary warriors, who arrived ahead of time, had gathered in this city. Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei arrived here 2 days in advance. They were sitting by the window in a hotel. A lot of people came here. Jian Wushuang looked at the crowd in the street. There were some powerful experts and they all came for this wedding. A crowd of people who just came here for fun, Qi Mei, who sat opposite Jian Wushuang, snorted and said, Ice Nether Valley invited all the powerful forces to the wedding. Many experts only came here in hopes of catching a glimpse of some powerful experts. Jian Wushuang could not help but smile. For some weaker warriors, it would be good luck to see the legendary top experts who had reached the half-saint level or divine transcendence. They rarely had the opportunity to meet those top experts, but this time they would see many of them on the wedding day. Swordsman, let's go to the market, Chi Mei suddenly said. Market? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise, is there anything good there? Are you interested? Hey, you don't know that. Some treasures might not be in the top experts' hands. Sometimes, if they are lucky, some weak people can get invaluable treasures that even I would be envious of, Chi Mei replied with a mysterious smile. This time, lots of experts have gathered in this city. Some of them will sell their treasures. If we're lucky, we might find something good. Oh? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and showed interest. Then they left the hotel and walked along the street towards the market. Jian Wushuang wore a bamboo hat to cover his face, and withdrew his aura. Chi Mei also hid his aura at the request of Jian Wushuang. His ability to restrict his aura was marvelous. Even experts who had mastered domain would not be able to recognize his strength. They might think he was an ordinary servant or a steward. Both of them walked down the street without arousing any attention. Soon they arrived at the market. You're right. It's quite lively here, Jian Wushuang said with a smile, while noticing lots of people crammed in the market. The market was quite crowded, and some warriors were selling their treasures. Jian Wushuang and Chi Mei roamed freely, looking at the treasures once in a while. Most of the treasures were quite normal, so Jian Wushuang and Chi Mei were not interested. After an hour, Jian Wushuang still had not seen a treasure that he even slightly cared about. At this moment, Chi Mei's eyes lit up. He pulled Jian Wushuang's sleeve and said, Swordsman, look at that. Jian Wushuang saw a half-naked strong man standing there with a three-colored spiritual vine in his hands. The man was surrounded by many warriors. That is, Jian Wushuang looked toward the three-colored spiritual vine and asked. If I am not wrong, it should be a tricolor hyaline vine. Chi Mei licked his lips and replied, it is a rare natural treasure and used widely. It is often used to refine high-level elixirs, such as the purple fire body shaping elixir and the Saint breakthrough elixir. They all need the tricolor hyaline vine. But the tricolor hyaline vine is rare and invaluable. We're lucky to see it here. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He did not know how precious the tricolor hyaline vine was, but it was an ingredient in the top elixirs, so it must be priceless. Let's have a look. Jian Wushuang and Chi Mei walked forward. The strong man shouted. 3 divine power elixirs and 1 million drops of purple crystal spiritual liquid. No bargaining. I spend a lot of effort to get this tricolor hyaline vine. If not for an emergency, I wouldn't be selling it here. 3 divine power elixir and 1 million drops of purple crystal spiritual liquid? Jian Wushuang and Chi Mei were surprised. Divine power elixir was used to improve a yang void expert's cultivation. It was effective and its price was high. A divine power elixir cost 1 million drops of purple crystal spiritual liquid. If the tricolor hyaline vine is put up for auction, it would sell for 10 million drops of purple crystal spiritual liquid. But he only wants 3 divine power elixirs and 1 million drops of purple crystal spiritual liquid. It's a bargain, Chi Mei said with a faint smile. Then he walked forward. I want this tricolor hyaline vine. Chi Mei spoke. But I only have 2 divine power elixirs. I can use 1 million drops of purple crystal spiritual liquid instead and give you 2 divine power elixirs with 2 million drops of purple crystal spiritual liquid. How about it? The strong man frowned. Before the strong man could think, a light voice suddenly was heard. Haha, a tricolor hyaline vine, good stuff. I want it. Chapter 325, Conflict. Chapter 325, Conflict. Just then, a scarlet-robed figure went forward. It was a young man who gave off an evil impression, followed by a strong and unusual man with purple hair. A tricolor hyaline vine. The scarlet-robed youth's gaze sharpened when he saw the 3-colored spiritual vine in the big man's hand. Immediately he took out an interspatial ring and said, here are 3 divine power elixirs, 1 million purple crystal spiritual liquid. The big man was tempted. After glancing over the interspatial ring, he smiled. But Chi Mei's face fell. He looked over at the scarlet-robed youth and said in a deep voice, "Young man, I was here first." And? The scarlet-robed youth sneered and said, "So what? He didn't promise to give it to you, did he? Young man, you want to play with fire, right?" Chi Mei was angry. Cold light flashed in his eyes. "Oh?" The scarlet-robed youth sneered and looked at the strong man with purple hair behind him. "Chow, get this old man out of my face." "Yes." The strong man with purple hair looked over at Chi Mei and shouted, "Old man, do you want to leave on your own or do I have to use force?" Immediately, brutality and unreasonableness spread from the purple-haired man. The half-saint realm. He is a half-saint expert. I heard that a lot of experts would gather in the Ice Nether Valley this time, including a few half-saints, even experts of the Saint Realm, but I didn't expect to see one here. The strong man with purple hair had caused a stir among warriors on the street. "Ha, I'd like to see you try," he said and laughed, while filled with anger. "Hum." The strong man with purple hair snorted without saying anything. Instead, he quickly gathered his power, which turned into a phantom and then rushed out. Chi Mei stood still with a cold and calm face, but in his eyes, killing intent was gathering. He promised himself that as soon as the strong man with purple hair made his move, he would kill him. However, right as the strong man with purple hair was about to attack. "Wait!" A deep shout was heard. It seemed to possess a magic power, causing the strong man with purple hair to stop unconsciously. Of course, it was Jian Wushuang. He stood in front of Chi Mei and looked at the scarlet-robed youth. Then, with a smile on his face, he said, "Master, please forgive my steward's hot temper." "Oh?" The scarlet-robed youth's eyes turned to Jian Wushuang slowly, but he couldn't see his face because Jian Wushuang had pulled his bamboo hat down. "Rats!" The scarlet-robed youth sneered with scorn. "Since you want the tricolor Hylan vine, we will not fight for it. We're leaving." After saying that, Jian Wushuang turned and motioned for Chi Mei to leave. Chi Mei was unwilling to leave, but he had to because of Jian Wushuang. The scarlet-robed youth just sneered because he had never taken Jian Wushuang and Chi Mei seriously. Jian Wushuang and Chi Mei walked down the street. However, Chi Mei's face was sullen. "That was humiliating. I haven't been insulted like this since I reached the Saint Realm." Chi Mei complained, "Swordsman, why did you save their lives?" "Yes." If Jian Wushuang hadn't stopped Chi Mei, the strong man with purple hair would have died. And surely, Chi Mei would kill the scarlet-robed youth as well. But he had been stopped by Jian Wushuang. "We are at the entrance to Ice Nether Valley, and they are watching everything we do. Besides, those two people should have backgrounds. Once you display your strength, you will definitely attract the Ice Nether Valley's attention. However, we are here to make trouble for the Ice Nether Valley. Therefore, it's better to be low-key before we act." Jian Wushuang's voice was cold and calm. "Those two people also came to attend the wedding. You can deal with them after we take action." Chi Mei went blank. Then he looked at Jian Wushuang, nodded unwillingly, and said, "You are stronger and the magic weapon is still in your hands, so you are the boss. But once this is done, I will kill him no matter who he is. After we finish our business here, you can do whatever you want to," Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Jian Wushuang and Chi Mei lost their interest because of what happened, so they went back to their rooms. The next day, which was the day before the wedding ceremony, Ice Nether Valley opened its door to welcome all the incoming experts. Both Jian Wushuang and Chi Mei went to the entrance of Ice Nether Valley. Unfortunately, they met the scarlet-robed youth and the strong man with purple hair at the door. "Ha, our young master will be very happy when he hears that Master Wuxing came." An expert from Ice Nether Valley enthusiastically welcomed the scarlet-robed youth. "I haven't seen Brother Yi Chen in a long time, could you lead me to see him?" The scarlet-robed youth said. "My pleasure." The expert from Ice Nether Valley led him, in person, into Ice Nether Valley. It attracted lots of attention at the door. "Who is he?" Why do they treat him so politely? Besides, it sounds like he has a good relationship with Yi Chen. I know him. He is the young sect master of Magic Cloud sect, Nia Wuxin. People call him Master Wuxin. The Magic Cloud sect is an affiliate of Ice Nether Valley, so they follow Ice Nether Valley's lead. Master Wuxin also has a good relationship with Yi Chen. He is Master Wuxin. Soon everyone knew who the scarlet-robed youth was. Magic Cloud sect, Master Wuxin. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, looked at Qi Mei, and said, sarcastically, "Did you hear that? The young man we met yesterday is a young sect master." Magic Cloud sect? Qi Mei sneered, "I have heard of it. Though I don't know the sect master, I know the upper elder. He started comprehending domain not long ago, but his strength is weaker than mine. How could a 2-bit sect be so arrogant? How ignorant they are." Chapter 326, The Treasure Auction. Chapter 326, The Treasure Auction. Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei entered Ice Nether Valley as solitary experts, so they were given a room. That night, the moon was dimmed by clouds. Tomorrow is the wedding day, second brother must have arrived at Ice Nether Valley. Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei sat at a table, drinking tea and chatting. I'm so excited at the thought of tomorrow," Qi Mei replied and laughed in a strange way. "Ice Nether Valley is too big and I don't know the way. Otherwise, I could look around and try to find fourth sister. That would be better." Jian Wushuang secretly shook his head. He planned to explore Ice Nether Valley tonight, but he finally gave up because it was too big. It all depends on tomorrow. A light of firmness flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. At the moment. Knock, knock. Someone knocked on the door. "Come on in." Both Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei looked at the door. The door opened. A disciple of Ice Nether Valley walked in and told Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei, "Sir, there is a treasure auction in Dongling Pavilion, many people will be there to bid, so I came here to inform you." A treasure auction? Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei looked at each other. It's being hosted by Ice Nether Valley. Many treasures will be auctioned, and our young sect master personally picked 3 valuable and rare treasures in honor of the guests who traveled so far, the disciple said. Really? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and asked. "You can go if you are interested. Sorry to bother you." After saying that, the disciple left and went to inform the other guests. "We have had rotten luck with treasure yesterday, and today there is a treasure auction." "Treasure again?" Qi Mei said and sneered. "Come on, let's have a look," Jian Wushuang said and smiled slightly, then they left for the Dongling Pavilion. The Dongling Pavilion was a 2-story pavilion that currently had many warriors gathered inside. So many people. Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei went to a corner on the 2nd floor. They looked around, but they were unable to find Yang Zixuan and his companions. At the center of the pavilion's 1st floor, the treasure auction was already in progress, and many treasures had been auctioned off. Currently, an origin manual was being auctioned. However, Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei looked down on the level of this origin manual. Still, there were many experts who were interested in bidding for it. Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei watched them indifferently. But he had to admit that there were many treasures. They were nothing to Jian Wushuang, or to experts of the Saint Realm such as Qi Mei, but they were valuable to experts in Yinyang Void Realm. More than an hour later, nearly 100 treasures had been auctioned off, and it was finally time for the main attraction, the final 3 treasures. At this point, Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei became curious. "Let's see what Master Yi Chen has picked," Jian Wushuang said and smiled. Among the final 3 treasures, the first one was a pure golden elixir that had been placed inside a jade box and gave off a fragrant smell. "It's a Paleopole elixir." Qi Mei was surprised. Jian Wushuang was also a little bit surprised. He had heard of it. The Paleopole elixir was analogous with the Saint Breakthrough elixir, which meant it functioned similarly to a Saint Breakthrough elixir. It boosted the breakthrough to the Saint realm, but its effect was much weaker than the Saint Breakthrough elixir. A Saint Breakthrough Elixir would increase the odds of success by 20%, but a Paleopole Elixir would only increase the chance by 5% at most. Still, it was enough to draw in experts at the peak of the Yang Void realm and even half-saints. As expected, the Paleopole Elixir caused a stir in the Dongling Pavilion. Many burning eyes focused on it. As soon as the elder announced the start of the auction, they immediately started bidding on it. Though the Paleopole Elixir's effect is much weaker than Saint Breakthrough Elixir, it still helps. Swordsman, aren't you even slightly interested in it? Qi Mei looked at Jian Wushuang with interest, since he hadn't reached divine transcendence yet. Less than 5%, it's not worth much to me. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Actually, he believed he could reach the Saint realm without a boost. A Saint Breakthrough Elixir might slightly interest him, but he would not go crazy over it, let alone a Paleopole Elixir. The fierce bidding war, for the Paleopole Elixir, continued for 15 minutes. In the end, it was finally auctioned off for 8 million purple crystal spiritual liquid. 8 million purple crystal spiritual liquid wasn't a small number. It might be the total assets of an average Saint Realm expert. Once the first item was sold, the second item immediately appeared. It was a manual, a second-grade origin manual. A second-grade manual? Second grade. My God! The whole Dongling Pavilion became frenzied. On the Nanyang continent, only the 8 top sects had second-grade manuals, but those weak old sects didn't. At most, they had superior third-grade manuals. Now, a second-grade manual showed up in the auction. Surely, it would cause a ruckus. Yichen really brought out a big surprise. Qi Mei smiled and said, "Unfortunately, it's useless for me." Jian Wushuang was still indifferent, showing no interest in the origin manual. Finally, it was sold for 19 million purple crystal spiritual liquid. Finally, the last one appeared. It was a leaf. A leaf? Many warriors in the pavilion were stunned while looking at the leaf on the exhibition stand. Even Jian Wushuang felt weird as he looked at it. Chapter 327, I will give you a chance. Chapter 327, I will give you a chance. Both the first 2 treasures, the Paleopole Elixir and the second-grade origin manual, were precious. And the final item should be even more valuable. However, when the leaf appeared, no one could judge its real value. That leaf, Jian Wushuang frowned, but he could tell that this item was out of the ordinary. Though it looked like a common leaf, he had a strange feeling that the leaf was like a world. Yes, that's it. This leaf contained a perfect world. Gentlemen, this is the finale, a leaf. The expert of Ice Nether Valley said, it belongs to a legendary tree, the World Tree. World Tree. Many warriors were confused. It's normal for you to not know about it. After all, it exists in legend, but has never been seen on the Nanyang continent. The Ice Nether Valley learned about it from an ancient book, the expert said. The legendary World Tree contains 2 worlds. One world that surrounds the tree, and another world that is inside the tree itself. Such an amazing tree is a divine treasure for those who meditate on world origin. Even a branch or a leaf is precious for them, let alone the whole tree. Anyone who is meditating on or going to meditate on world origin should try their best to buy it. His words caused a stir. A leaf from a world tree. A treasure for meditating on world origin. Jian Wushuang was surprised. While looking at the leaf, the desire in his eyes was getting stronger. But right at that moment, Brother Yichen really gave us a big surprise, a leaf from a world tree. Luckily, an elder in our sect meditates on world origin, so I bid 1,000 purple gems. An evil voice was suddenly heard from somewhere in the pavilion. Everyone turned towards the voice, where they saw a towering scarlet-robed youth, who had a cold smile, standing in a corner on the 2nd floor, and a strong man with purple hair. He is the young master of Magic Cloud sect, Nia Wuxin. Master Wuxin. I heard the Magic Cloud sect master meditated on world origin. Everyone recognized the scarlet-robed youth immediately. It's him. Jian Wushuang's face changed. That guy. Qi Mei had a somber look, but killing intent was secretly surging inside him. They had some tension with Nie Wuxin yesterday on the street. If Jian Wushuang hadn't stopped him, Qi Mei would have killed Nie Wuxin. Now, they had met each other again. Unfortunately, the leaf that Nie Wuxin was bidding on was also something Jian Wushuang wanted. Opponents always meet. 1,000 purple gems, quite a big offer, Jian Wushuang said and sneered. A purple gem was refined from a large amount of purple crystal spiritual liquid, so it was more valuable than purple crystal spiritual liquid. In general, the market price for a purple gem was 10,000 purple crystal spiritual liquid. Therefore, 1,000 purple gems equaled 10 million purple crystal spiritual liquid, which was nearly all the assets of a normal expert in the Saint Realm. There were lots of experts there, but few of them could offer 1,000 purple gems. Even if they could, they were not interested in it. Therefore, after Nie Wuxin offered his price, no one bid against him. However, the silence was quickly broken. 1,200 purple gems. Jian Wushuang said in a deep voice. Immediately, everyone turned to look at Jian Wushuang. Oh? Nie Wuxin hardened his eyes and looked at Jian Wushuang as well. Them? Nie Wuxin recognized Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei, but he despised them. He had made them bow to him on the street yesterday. Today they met again, so he definitely looked down upon them. 1,500 purple gems. Nie Wuxin bid again. 2,000 purple gems. Jian Wushuang followed without hesitation. He had killed so many experts. More importantly, he killed the Lord of Skywave Prefecture, Man Yan, and Tan Feng. As two overlords in the Tang dynasty, they possessed a large amount of assets, much more than what a normal expert in the Saint Realm had. Among them, there were even a few special treasures. Therefore, 2,000 purple gems was a small number to Jian Wushuang. When the price was increased to 2,000 purple gems, Nie Wuxin changed his expression. He snorted and said, 2,100 purple gems, that's my final offer. I will give up if there is a higher bid. Chapter 328, The Wedding Ceremony. Chapter 328, The Wedding Ceremony. Or what? Jian Wushuang stared at Nie Wuxin with a calm face. If he had been threatening someone else, it might have worked. But it didn't work on Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang stopped Qi Mei on the street before because he didn't want to draw attention. In fact, both he and Qi Mei looked down upon Nie Wuxin. Even if it was the whole Magic Cloud sect, Jian Wushuang wouldn't care. Kid, I wouldn't mind killing you. Nie Wuxin said coldly. Oh? Do you plan to kill us inside Ice Nether Valley? Jian Wushuang said. He had nothing to fear and didn't worry about drawing Ice Nether Valley's attention. After all, they were inside Ice Nether Valley. They were all guests. He wouldn't do it unless he was out of mind. Therefore, Jian Wushuang didn't worry at all. Fine. Nie Wuxin smiled coldly and said, You're right. We're inside Ice Nether Valley right now, so I can't do anything. But you can't stay here forever, can you? After tomorrow's wedding, you have to leave, and then there will be no one to help you. After saying that, Nie Wuxin snorted and left with the strong man with purple hair. Swordsman, how could you not be angry? If I were you, I would have killed him. Qi Mei stood beside Jian Wushuang and said with an interesting smile. He's a contemptible scoundrel, why should I care? Jian Wushuang said with a smile, we should pay more attention to tomorrow's wedding, Yi Chen, and Ice Nether Valley. After coming back to the room, Jian Wushuang sat cross-legged on his bed and took out the leaf. You cost me over 2,000 purple gems. Don't let me down. Jian Wushuang had a slight expectation. Early the next morning, before the sun had even risen over the horizon. After sitting on the bed for the whole night, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and took a breath as a smile spread across his face. It really is a treasure for comprehending world origin. A leaf which seems plain but contains the power of a whole world, as steady as the Nanyang continent. Unbelievable. Mysterious. Jian Wushuang was happy. After meditating with the leaf for one night, he had a greater understanding of world origin. The world in the leaf inspired him a lot. It's just one leaf. Jian Wushuang couldn't help wondering, what about the whole world tree? At this moment. Rat-a-tat. 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 One by one, the bells tolled in a deep and resonant voice, reverberating through the ice nether valley. Is the wedding beginning? Jian Wushuang raised his head with a firm and cold light sparkling in his eyes. When the bell tolled, the experts of all forces, sects, and solitary experts, who had come to Ice Nether Valley, began gathering toward the huge platform at the center of Ice Nether Valley. Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei went there as well. Lots of people had gathered there, but they were separated into two groups. One was for experts from forces and sects of the Nanyang continent. Almost all the famous sects of the Nanyang continent had sent representatives. Those who stood at the foremost were from Holy Emperor Palace and Alchemy School, followed by the two valleys, 4 temples, and 8 sects. Among the 8 sects, the Daluo Heaven sect had replaced the Wilderness Sword sect as one of the top 8 sects after the fight half a year ago. Those who stood behind them were from old sects of some renown on the Nanyang continent. Compared with the top sects, those old sects were much weaker. Magic Cloud sect was one of the old sects, and Master Wuxin led the representatives from the Magic Cloud sect. The other group was the place where solitary experts gathered. The wedding in the Ice Nether Valley attracted lots of solitary experts. Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei stood with them. However, the people surrounding them stared at them from time to time. Are they the men who bought the leaf from the world tree at the treasure auction last night? I heard that Master Wuxin asked to buy the leaf for 1,000 purple gems after the treasure auction, but they refused. If I were him, I would refuse too. The leaf is valuable and he paid 2,200 purple gems for it. However, Master Wuxin wants to buy it for only 1,000 purple gems. He must be kidding. No, that was a threat. Wait and see, Master Wuxin can do nothing to them while they are in the Ice Nether Valley, but once they leave, Master Wuxin will go after them. Many people were secretly discussing Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei while looking at them with pity in their eyes. However, Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei were calm and unruffled. Jian Wushuang looked directly at the place where the experts from those powerful sects gathered. First, he looked at Holy Emperor Palace. Holy Emperor Palace had sent 3 men to attend the wedding. The leader was a strong elder, who seemed like an ordinary man, but he was actually an expert of the Saint Realm. The 2 others were just half-saints. It was normal. Experts of the Saint Realm had a high ranking and were core warriors in a sect. Holy Emperor Palace and Alchemy School only had a few of them. It was quite an honor for Holy Emperor Palace to send one to attend the wedding. The people standing next to them were from the Alchemy School. They were led by Wang Yuan. Jian Wushuang didn't know the 2 others, but he could tell that they had already reached divine transcendence with a single glance. Except for Holy Emperor Palace and Alchemy School, Jian Wushuang only glanced at the other sects, paying little attention to them. Then his eyes turned towards the area with the solitary experts. His eyes immediately focused on a man with a cold face, wearing a blood-red saber on his back. A hint of craze spontaneously appeared in Yi Chen's eyes. The reason he was feeling so impatient was not that he was marrying Su Ro, but because of Su Ro's virginity. The extreme body of a virgin was an absolute treasure. While all the people on the platform were busy staring at Su Ro, Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan looked at each other, then slightly nodding their heads. The next moment, they slowly strode forward and quickly arrived at the center of the platform, blocking the path of the glazed carriage. What? All the warriors were confounded and looked at the 2 in surprise. What are they trying to do? Curiosities emerged from the bottom of everyone's heart. 4th sister, why didn't you tell us about your wedding? That's not very nice, is it? Jian Wushuang's voice echoed. It was not until Su Ro heard this that her cold expression and the blank look in her eyes changed. Su Ro recognized Jian Wushuang's voice immediately, even though he covered his face with a bamboo hat. Wushuang? Zishuan? Su Ro felt astonished. Jian Wushuang raised his head and looked at Su Ro while smiling. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two figures blocking the glazed carriage instantly moved, rushing toward the glazed carriage. What? Oh no! All the experts in the area were shocked. Many experts from the Ice Nether Valley stood up, and the Valley Master's face instantly became gloomy. They are courting death. There was a man sitting on the back of one of unicorns that was pulling the glazed carriage. He was the driver of the 4 unicorns. When he saw Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan rushing toward the glazed carriage, he snorted coldly. The 4 unicorns possessed intelligence, so they became fierce. They raised their 4 single horns and violently dashed toward Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan. They were all spirit beasts at the peak of the Yang Void Realm. Not only did they have the sharpest horns, they also possessed great power. Evil monsters, get out of my way! Jian Wushuang's voice thundered, instantaneously radiating a mighty killing intent. The dashing unicorns stared with their huge eyes, but their steps instantly paused in the air and they made no further movements. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan appeared in front of the carriage with no one blocking them. After chopping off the chains connecting the 4 unicorns and the glazed carriage, Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan stood on opposing sides of the glazed carriage and quietly began floating in the air. Whoosh! 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 In the area surrounding them, a large number of figures appeared in quick succession. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan had been completely surrounded by many experts from Ice Nether Valley. Chapter 330, A Bitter Scold. Chapter 330, A Bitter Scold. The atmosphere of the whole drill ground gradually grew tense. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan were surrounded by experts from Ice Nether Valley, who were all prepared to kill Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan as long as the Valley Master gave the order. But Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan had a fearless look in their eyes, as if they didn't care about those Ice Nether Valley experts at all. Wushuang, Zishuan, what are you doing? Su Ro asked from inside the glazed carriage while frowning. Just keep waiting, Jian Wushuang replied with a faint smile, not explaining anything. You must be Su Ro's sworn brothers, right? Su Ro has mentioned you. Yichen took one step, looked at them and smiled, then said, please forgive me. It was because of my thoughtlessness that you were not invited to our wedding. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. Yichen didn't rage, even though Jian Wushuang had almost ruined the wedding. The experts on the drill ground nodded their heads and admired him furtively. He is worthy of the title as a Master Saint. Yichen was known as a Master Saint in the Nanyang continent. It meant that he was perfect in behavior, character, dealing with affairs, and many other aspects, including generosity. The way Yichen behaved now obviously displayed his generosity. He's so hypocritical. Jian Wushuang laughed at him furtively. Gentlemen, Yichen said again, it's my fault that I failed to invite you to attend our wedding in time. It is normal that you feel dissatisfied, but your way of appearing here is quite special. Special? Jian Wushuang grinned slightly and said, you will see something even more special soon. Just as Jian Wushuang finished his sentence. Boom! A vigorous boom abruptly sounded from somewhere inside Ice Nether Valley, as if the sky was falling and the ground was cracking. Meanwhile, many violent auras were furiously radiating from the area where the booming sound came from. What happened? The Ice Nether Valley experts were startled and looked in that direction. A figure rushed forward at an amazing speed and flashily arrived in the air above the drill ground. This sturdy man with shaggy hair was old weirdo Yun Yang. After arriving at the drill ground, he directly looked at Jian Wushuang. Swordsman, I think I have done what you entrusted me to do, old weirdo Yun Yang smiled and said. Thank you so much, senior. Jian Wushuang showed a delightful expression. Everyone on the drill ground was still startled. Old jerk! Suddenly, the sound of raging thunder echoed throughout the area. Immediately after that, a man and a woman hurriedly rushed out. Eldering, what the hell is going on? The Ice Nether Valley Master instantly looked at the woman. Master, Eldering had extreme rage in her eyes as she pointed at old weirdo Yunyang and said, in a low voice, that old jerk caught me off guard and ruined the protective array core of our Ice Nether Valley. What? The complexion of the Ice Nether Valley Master greatly changed. The Ice Nether Valley experts were also instantly filled with shock and anger. The drill ground was suddenly in turmoil. The array core had been ruined. For a great sect, the protective array was not only the strongest defense method, it was also their greatest trump card. When there was a crisis, they depended on the protective array to protect them. But now, someone had ruined Ice Nether Valley's protective array core without making a sound. What are they trying to do? You're quite bold. A vast and fierce aura radiated from the Ice Nether Valley Master. He seemed like a furious lion, with raging flame burning on his eyes, as he looked at Jian Wushuang. Bold? Jian Wushuang sneered and then he said coldly, you should be rejoicing. Su Ro hasn't been hurt in your Ice Nether Valley, otherwise, there would be no need for Ice Nether Valley to continue to exist. There was no need for Ice Nether Valley to exist? When the sentence sounded in their ears, everyone was shocked. Countless eyes, filled with astonishment, were looking at Jian Wushuang. Everyone was in disbelief. That man is challenging Ice Nether Valley. In the Ice Nether Valley, in front of all the Ice Nether Valley experts, he dares to say this. He really is bold. Chapter 331, A Magisterial Entrance. Chapter 331, A Magisterial Entrance. Fourth Sister. Jian Wushuang took a solemn look at Su Ro before speaking in a low and deep voice, all along, you have seen this Yichen fella as your benefactor because he saved you and helped you take revenge. But do you know who ordered Blissful Island to annihilate your tribe in the first place? Ha! Su Ro turned her attention toward Jian Wushuang involuntarily. I'm telling you, this Yichen fella was the person who ordered the annihilation of your tribe and also the ringleader behind the massacre of your kin, Jian Wushuang stated piercingly. What? Su Ro was stunned for a moment before she began to shake her head repeatedly. Impossible. You think so? Jian Wushuang laughed derisively. Your tribe was situated within a middle-sized empire. Have you never asked yourself what kind of business brought someone like Master Yichen there, and how he rescued you by coincidence? What's more, why do you think the only survivor among your clan happened to be you? Su Ro was slightly stumped. These questions had popped up in her head before, but she never thought too much about them. That is impossible. Why would Master do that? Su Ro shook her head frantically while turning her eyes toward Yichen. Humph, baseless accusations, Yichen responded dismissively. Baseless? Jian Wushuang sneered, but a heavy force of gale and thunderbolt gradually began to build up in his body. Swish! His body suddenly transformed into a streak of thundering light which burst forth. Because of the close distance and the unexpectedness of Jian Wushuang's offensive, even the experts of Ice Nether Valley could not react promptly. By the time they did, Jian Wushuang was already right in front of one of them. This person was none other than the black-clothed elder who had been following behind Yichen like a slave. In fact, he had been doing so for more than a decade, and was a half-saint. He was startled by Jian Wushuang's sudden appearance in front of him. Subsequently, he saw the latter reach a palm out directly toward his face. His complexion changed drastically as he forcibly shifted his body to one side, evading the fatal palm. Despite missing, Jian Wushuang sniggered nevertheless. A unique spiritual power emanated from the center of his palm and swept out towards the elder's face. Having accomplished what he wanted, Jian Wushuang reappeared at his original spot in a flash of lightning. Fourth Sister, take a look at that person once more and see if you recognize him, he muttered while pointing at the black-clothed elder. Su Ro looked frowningly toward the elder, but she quickly noticed that his features had changed. Disguise skill? Many of the experts standing around were equally astounded. None of them had ever imagined that the black-clothed elder who followed beside Yi Chen persistingly had all along been hiding his true face by using the disguise skill. It lost its effect because Jian Wushuang had smeared something special on the center of his palm, which caused a reaction when the spiritual power from the attack swept past the elder's face. After seeing the elder's true appearance, Su Ro's expression turned from shock to disbelief, and then eventually to immense rage. "It's you." Her voice became ice-cold and piercing to the extreme. It was a face she had committed to memory since that day, more than 10 years ago, when she was still a young child. It was a face she would never forget. After all, this was the face of the master who led Blissful Island in the massacre of her tribe and kin. She had thought that this person was long dead. Instead, not only was he standing in front of her right now, but he had also been following beside Yi Chen all this time and even had frequent contact with her. Lord of Blissful Island, Fan Hong. "Do you believe me now?" Jian Wushuang asked in a deep voice. The reason he was sure that there was incontrovertible evidence was because among the information found by the alchemy school was the discovery that the servant who persistently followed Yi Chen was none other than Fan Hong, the Lord of Blissful Island who annihilated Su Ro's tribe all those years ago. This proof was as solid as a mountain. So much so that Su Ro was compelled to believe it. She raised her head and peered toward Yi Chen once more, albeit this time with a wholly different look. "Master, I need an explanation from you." Su Ro's figure was visibly quivering. Yi Chen's complexion became unsightly at once. An uproar erupted in the drill ground. Having understood the truth of the matter, nearly everyone became doubtful of the so-called Master Saint. Master Saint? How can someone who conducts himself like this have the right to be called such? I always saw this Yi Chen fella as an honorable and forthright person. I never expected him to be such a fraud. Shameless hypocrite. Contemptuous remarks rang out across the drill ground. Consequently, the complexions of many of the experts of Ice Nether Valley became somewhat unpleasant. The Valley Master began to holler, "Little one, you not only ordered people to destroy the foundations of my sect's formation, you also shamelessly spread nonsense here. Could it be that you think my Ice Nether Valley is easy to bully? If a tiger doesn't show its might, it will indeed be mistaken as a sick cat. You and your friends can forget about leaving here today. Elders, come out." The Valley Master's loud and emphatic voice reverberated throughout the area. In the blink of an eye, a massive and thick aura shot up into the sky. Many experts of Ice Nether Valley, including several Saint Realm elders who had achieved divine transcendence, appeared in quick succession near Jian Wushuang and company. "Ha, you want a fight?" Jian Wushuang said and sneered while slowly reaching behind his back to grasp his long sword. A cool breeze whooshed past just as his palm made contact with the hilt of his long sword. 5 figures appeared, near simultaneously, behind his back. Including old weirdo Yun Yang, who had already revealed himself previously, there were now 6 people behind him. Among the 6 was Wine Master, whose white robes, hair, and beard flapped around, even though there was no wind. The hoary-looking Lady Black, dressed in black, with her indifferent countenance. Known for being carefree, the 2 Wind and Rain Immortals, who were jointly called the Immortal Couple, stood there, nonchalantly, with a smile on the corners of their mouths. Old weirdo Yun Yang interlocked his hands, with a hint of mischief in his eyes. Conversely, Chi Mei stood stiffly where he was with a glum expression on his face. Aside from the 6 of them, there was Jian Wushuang, who was gradually pulling his long sword out, as well as Yang Zixuan, whose body emitted a loftier-than-thou aura. Right here on the drill ground, in Ice Nether Valley, 8 horrifying and earth-shaking auras burst out violently. In the blink of an eye, the sky and earth were torn apart. The suppressive forces formed by the auras alone caused the entire drill ground to fall into a grave silence. The entire surface of the drill ground even seemed to cave in completely. At the forefront of these 8 people was Jian Wushuang, who was clearly the leader. Clutching his green-tipped sword, his peerless sword essence rose into the sky, making him appear as if he was a peerless master who had arrived from ancient times. His eyes, which carried a faint trace of arrogance, looked around as hostile words poured out of his mouth. Whether I can be kept back will depend on your capability, Ice Nether Valley. Chapter 332, Go Berserk, Blood-Red Pupils. Chapter 332, Go Berserk, Blood-Red Pupils. The 6 experts of the Saint Realm entered the spotlight with an overbearing and unparalleled arrogance about them. The entire drill ground began to sizzle at once. The experts of the Saint Realm? All 6 of you. Is that Wine Master? Could it really be Wine Master and Lady Black? What are the Wind and Rain Immortals doing here? Haven't they appeared publicly for a long time? I recognize that shabby elder. He's old weirdo Yin Yang, who despite living for so long already, simply refuses to die no matter what. He's ranked 6th on the Blood Moon list of Tang Dynasty. 5 of the 6 experts of the Saint Realm were recognized at once. The odd one out was Chi Mei, who became well known considerably later and only in the Tang Dynasty. Even so, the 5 recognized ones were undoubtedly top-tier experts on Nanyang continent. Wine Master, for instance, was a supreme expert of the pinnacle level, which was up there with Holy Emperor Palace and Alchemy School, and thus had to be respectfully and cautiously treated rather than be provoked. Lady Black belonged to the 3rd stage domain, which old weirdo Yunyang could hold his own against even though he belonged to the 2nd stage domain. These 2 people would be the most powerful sect members if they were placed in any of the 8 sections. Although the Wind and Rain Immortals, as well as Chi Mei, were slightly less powerful, they were also masters of a domain. The crowd was amazed by such an impressive lineup, and could only nod in agreement with Jian Wushuang's words. Is Ice Nether Valley really thinking of keeping back these virtuosos? Is it good enough to? Wine Master, Lady Black, Old Weirdo Yunyang, the Wind and Rain Immortals, and one more who even though I can't recognize, can tell to be a top-tier expert and a master of a domain. The Valley Master's complexion darkened immensely. Although Ice Nether Valley was the most powerful among the 3 valleys, it did not have many experts of the Saint Realm. There were 10 of them in all. Of these 10, only 5 were true masters of a domain, while the other 5 were merely normal experts of the Saint Realm. The Valley Master would have remained confident of keeping back Jian Wushuang and company, had the protective array been well preserved and ready to be used. Lady Black and Wine Master, Ice Nether Valley and I have always respected both of you, and have never dared to provoke you 2 in the slightest. What's the intent of your actions today? The Valley Master asked in a frosty voice. Valley Master Yi. Wine Master laughed indifferently. I have no choice. This disciple of mine raised a request for the first time after having acknowledged me as his master for so long. Surely I have to help him in some way, right? Disciple? With barely squinting eyes, the Valley Master shot a glance at Yang Zishuan. Enough nonsense. Jian Wushuang's voice sounded once more. My friends and I specifically came here to bring misery upon Ice Nether Valley. Nothing that you say matters. In the end, strength will decide everything. 4th sister, do you want Yichen dead or alive? As Jiang Wushuang looked over at Su Ro, who was standing by the side, his complexion changed abruptly. At present, Su Ro's head was lowered and her eyes had shut unnoticed. Her thin and frail body was trembling, and she showed completely no reaction to Jian Wushuang's words. However, a considerably terrifying aura gradually began to rise up from her body. As if it came from the boundless underworld, the aura was ice-cold and dark. The attention of everyone on the drill ground immediately turned towards Su Ro the moment the aura rose into the air. What's this? Even Wine Masters and Lady Blacks, who were standing beside Su Ro, aged complexions changed slightly. The dark aura which seemed to be from the boundless underworld was very weak at first, but it strengthened at an unimaginable pace. In only a short time, the aura became powerful enough to discolor the skies while continuing to strengthen. A moment later, it enshrouded everyone present. Many of the experts on the drill ground got goosebumps as the aura swept across. This aura! What a terrifying aura! It's even stronger than that of Wine Master and the experts of the Saint Realm. What's going on? That woman is clearly from the Enyang Void Realm only. How could she have such a terrifying aura? Everyone was equally astounded. The exception was Jian Wushuang, who stared solemnly at Su Ro. This was not the first time he had seen this aura burst out of Su Ro's body. On the few occasions which he had seen it before, although the aura was also very intense and could exert a lot of power, it was nevertheless way weaker than the aura this time. Its nature was also extremely different this time. As Su Ro was being stared at by the crowd, the dark aura from her body rose to its most powerful state. The next moment, her eyes opened viciously, shooting forth a dazzling beam of bloody light which swept across everyone. Gosh! Many of the experts standing around were dumbstruck after seeing Su Ro's pair of eyes. This, Jian Wushuang was also taken aback greatly. Her pupils, which were originally pitch black, had turned blood red. It was not simply because of a few broken blood vessels. Rather, her pupils had changed color completely. A pair of blood-red pupils. It was icy and completely emotionless. The scalp of anyone who was seen by it turned numb and felt on the verge of bursting. It would finally fixate upon Yi Chen's body. Su Ro thereupon stepped forth unexpectedly. Although she took only a solitary and casual-looking step forward, it spanned a distance of over 100 feet, allowing her to appear in front of the crowd of experts from Ice Nether Valley. I have always seen you as my benefactor. I always thought that meeting you was the biggest blessing in my life. When you said you wanted to marry me, I agreed without hesitation even though I was somewhat surprised. I thought that it was you who gave me everything I had. I thought that I would be nothing without you. I never would have guessed that you, who occupied an irreplaceable position in my heart, were the person who killed my entire tribe. On top of that, I never thought you would be this shameless despite being called Master Saint. The words which came out of Su Ro's mouth were hair-raising and bordered on hysteria. Fake, everything is fake. Today, I shall completely destroy all of this pretense. And I shall destroy you as well. With her blood-red pupils remaining glued upon Yi Chen's body, Su Ro slowly reached her palm out toward Yi Chen and smacked it on him as if it was a hand of death. Chapter 333, Start of a Huge Battle. Chapter 333, Start of a Huge Battle. Everyone fixed their sights on the palm which Su Ro smacked with. Although the palm was ostensibly very slow, it gave a bizarre feeling that it was totally inevasible. Yi Chen's complexion changed involuntarily the moment he saw the palm smacking directly towards where he was standing. He had a false impression that the oncoming palm could turn him into dust. Humph! The Valley Master lowered his vision and waved his hand forcibly before going on Su Ro. Thump! A loud noise was heard as the Valley Master's complexion changed dramatically. Under the horrified eyes of the surrounding experts, a huge gulp of blood spurted out of his mouth, while his body fell backward wretchedly at the same time. The Valley Master was a formidable expert of the Saint Realm who had also mastered the top ranks of the second stage domain. Yet at present, almost as soon as he began fighting against Su Ro, he was already severely wounded and sent retreating. How is this possible? Everyone on the drill ground was speechless. Even Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan, who had some understanding of Su Ro, were somewhat bewildered. They knew that Su Ro had a very special constitution and several unique abilities. However, by their impressions, her abilities were mainly for defense whereas she was not particularly skilled offensively. But, what were they seeing right now? A palm that immediately inflicted great damage on the Valley Master? What strength was this? Yi Chen was also scared stiff. How is this possible? How can it be like this? Although an extreme body is formidable, it shouldn't be sufficient for her strength to increase by that much. And, why have her eyes changed like this? It's different. It's obviously different from the extreme body recorded in the ancient texts. An extreme body isn't this horrifying and brutal. Could it be that, what she has isn't an extreme body? Yi Chen's eyes abruptly widened. Because many of the unique characteristics of Su Ro's constitution were similar to that of an extreme body, he had all along thought that she possessed one. However, the skills which Su Ro was currently displaying indicated otherwise. Wrong, I got it wrong from the start. This bitch simply doesn't have an extreme body. Yi Chen's facial expression distorted maniacally as he growled in his heart. All this time, Su Ro's blood-red pupils remained fixated upon him without shifting even a fraction of an inch. Shortly after, her palm smacked towards Yi Chen once more. This time, his father, the Valley Master, was clearly too late to save him. "Save me, Great Elder. Be fast." Yi Chen barked in a shrilling voice as he desperately fled backward. A figure promptly came rushing toward him from the direction he was moving in. It reached the drill ground in the blink of an eye and shielded in front of Yi Chen. When Su Ro's palm came smacking toward him once more, the figure shook its sleeves and exerted a terrifying and vigorous power which easily nullified the palm's force. "Great Elder." Yi Chen revealed an expression of pleasant surprise the moment he saw the figure shielding in front of him. "Great Elder." The crowd of experts from Ice Nether Valley also hurriedly looked toward the figure. The newcomer was indeed none other than the Great Elder of Ice Nether Valley, Feng Daoyang. He was also the most powerful among the 10 experts of the Saint Realm in Ice Nether Valley. In Ice Nether Valley, Feng Daoyang was a being essentially equivalent to a sky-supporting pillar. He had entered the Pinnacle Realm many years back and was an expert of the same level as Wine Master. How did a proper and grand marriage end up like this? With an icy countenance, he shot a glance at Yi Chen behind him. The latter lowered his head involuntarily. Feng Daoyang humphed grimly and did not rebuke any further. He cast his gaze directly straight ahead at Su Ro, and when he saw the pair of blood-red pupils, his complexion also changed slightly. Blood-red pupils, even he had never heard of such a thing. "This man has to die. I shall kill anyone who obstructs me." Su Ro spoke in a chilly voice as she stared at Yi Chen. "Humph, you talk really big." Feng Daoyang smiled indifferently. "Little girl, how old are you to spout nonsense in front of an old fella like me? When I was roaming Nanyang continent, your grandmother was probably not born yet. Then try me." Su Ro retorted unconcerned. At present, her killing intent was sky-high. There was only one thought remaining in her mind, and that was to kill Yi Chen with her own hands. Furthermore, her constitution was completely awakened by now. This was a very special and frightening constitution. The killing potential of those blood-red pupils was boundless. It was plain that she had only cultivated the spiritual power of Yin Void Realm, but the battle strength she was exerting at present was way superior to that of the experts of the Saint Realm. Boom! Her figure abruptly moved. At the same time, the dark aura which seemed to be from the boundless underworld started up and began to take on Feng Daoyang. Jian Wushuang stood grim-faced in the middle of the drill ground. Although the battle strength exerted by Su Ro was indeed terrifying during this short period of time, he knew full well that this type of abrupt strength was absolutely not easy to control. "Let's not waste any more time. We shall act now." Jian Wushuang muttered as his eyes turned hawkish. The group of people around him nodded in agreement. In an instant. Swish! 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 8 thick and brutal auras burst forth vigorously and charged directly toward the experts of Ice Nether Valley. "Bring them down!" The Valley Master shrilled. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, while there was a hint of insanity on his face. The experts of Ice Nether Valley, including those who were of the Saint Realm, lost no time in lunging toward Jian Wushuang and company. A fierce battle broke out in the blink of an eye. The various sects, as well as many solitary experts, stood on the fringes of the vast drill ground as they witnessed the battle in full view. Everyone was in an expectant and colorful mood. They had all come to Ice Nether Valley to witness a grand marriage, and never imagined that such a drastic twist would occur. Having had his true colors publicly exposed by Jian Wushuang, Master Saint Yi Chen was revealed to be a sanctimonious little man. Everyone then witnessed the magisterial entrance of the 6 experts of the Saint Realm. Shortly after, Su-Ro went berserk and exerted a monstrous battle strength. And right now, a huge battle was fully underway. These successive scenes were too much for the crowd to take in. Many of the experts were in profound shock and wonderment. Whatever state they were in, nobody personally intervened. After all, regardless of the eventual result, this was Ice Nether Valley's affair and had nothing to do with any other expert or party. In the area where the experts of the old sects were gathered, the 3 people of Holy Emperor Palace sat on chairs as they watched the battle. However, from start to finish, the muscular and stocky elder, who was the leader among the trio, kept his eyes on one person only. This person was none other than Jian Wushuang. That guy, the muscular and stocky elder, squinted his eyes slightly. According to the intelligence gathered by Holy Emperor Palace, Su-Ro has 3 brothers. The eldest is the young master of the alchemy school, Wang Yuan. The second eldest is called Yang Zishuan. The third is Jian Wushuang. Then why is Su-Ro calling this person third brother? Isn't Jian Wushuang obviously dead already? Chapter 334, I leave this person to you, 4th sister. Chapter 334, I leave this person to you, 4th sister. Bam! 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 After the battle broke out, deafening and frightful booms resounded in succession throughout heaven and earth. At the same time, the dispersed aftereffects of the exchanges between the 2 teams of experts also swept devastatingly toward the crowd of experts, of which many had already ascended into the void where they continued to watch the battle from a distance. While Jian Wushuang's lineup could be said to be magnificent, Ice Nether Valley's team was not weak either. By coordinating with each other, these experts of the Saint Realm managed to hold back the sextet comprising of Wine Master, Lady Black, the Wind and Rain Immortals, Old Weirdo Yunyang, and Qi Mei. But the 2 men Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan, the Ice Nether Valley had to deploy several half-saints, as well as experts of the peak of the Yang Void Realm, to hold them back as their experts of the Saint Realm were already fully occupied. As a result, Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan were practically unrestrained. Their battle strengths were, after all, far beyond that of an average expert of the Saint Realm. How could these half-saints and experts hope to hold them back? Second brother, I shall leave these people to you while I take on Yi Chen, Jian Wushuang spoke icily. Okay, Yang Zishuan acknowledged in a similar voice. He casually thrust the blood-red saber in his hand, and instantly, a blood-red flowing light swept past an elder and scythed him fatally. Yi Chen. There was a heavy force of gale and thunderbolt built up on Jian Wushuang's body, which then transformed into a ray of lightning that beamed into the void and appeared in front of Yi Chen in a split second. An astonishing blast of sword essence surged toward Yi Chen while making a diffusive noise. Young Valley Master and respectful Master Saint, do you have the guts to fight with me? Yi Chen looked over at Jian Wushuang. The fury in his heart could no longer be contained and thus erupted at once. Bastard! Everything is because of this bastard. Yi Chen's eyes became hostile while his complexion twisted. The day was proceeding according to plan at first, but Jian Wushuang's appearance ruined the marriage, and he even uncovered Master Saint's true colors, completely destroying the image which the latter had long been building up. From this day forth, it was likely that Master Saint's name would only be mentioned as a joke by experts throughout Nanyang continent. And all this was because of Jian Wushuang. An ice-cold killing intent gushed out of Yi Chen's body while a pale golden long spear unanticipatedly appeared in his hand. The spear possessed impressive power and was clearly an exceptional magic weapon. Damn you! As Yi Chen glared at Jian Wushuang, his body suddenly charged forth. Boom! When he struck out with the spear, a brutal power burst forth like the eruption of a volcano and instantly produced a jarring boom in the void. The sight of this drew admiration from many of the spectating experts. Master Saint's renown was profoundly related to his strength, and was not just because of the disposition he had all along been faking. Although he had only cultivated the spiritual power of the peak of the Yang Void Realm, he had once fought with a true expert of the Saint Realm and clearly held the upper hand. The height of his talents certainly belonged to the top tier of the entire Nanyang continent. The power of the spear which Yi Chen was showing off at the moment had already reached the threshold of the experts of the Saint Realm. However, Jian Wushuang simply curled the corners of his lips as he met the explosive spear with a very casual thrust of the purple-tipped sword in his hand. As casual as it was, when it collided with the spear head-on. Bam! An intensely violent noise sounded. Yi Chen's pupils constricted abruptly, and subsequently, he spewed out a mouthful of blood in front of the horrified crowd, while his body was flung backward like a cannonball. This was what happened in only one exchange. Jian Wushuang's casual exertion was all it took to outclass and defeat Yi Chen. Yet, Jian Wushuang had also only cultivated the spiritual power of the peak of the Yang Void Realm. How is this possible? Yi Chen painfully stood up firm and once more cast his eyes, which had become aghast like never before, upon Jian Wushuang. As Master Saint, he had always been considered an elite talent throughout Nanyang continent. Facing a person who was of a similar cultivation as him, however, he was thoroughly defeated and heavily injured by a very casual stroke. Why was this so? Who? A ray of lightning whizzed toward him and arrived less than a meter in front of him in the blink of an eye. With a long sword in his hand, Jian Wushuang gazed at Yi Chen from a close distance and revealed a jocose smile at the corner of his lips. A Master Saint as dignified as you only have this level of ability? You, Yi Chen looked in disbelief at Jian Wushuang. The latter's eyes flashed a glimmer of disdain, following which he struck out furiously with his sword once more. In his vain attempt to resist, Yi Chen hastily raised his long spear. Bam! A frightening force smashed onto Yi Chen's spear. Yi Chen immediately felt an unprecedentedly powerful transmission which caused the energy and blood in his body to swirl. He spewed out another mouthful of blood as his body collapsed violently onto the ground below. Many of the onlooking experts were dumbstruck by what they had just seen. They had never imagined that Master Saint Yi Chen would be this resistless against an expert of the same level as him. That's right, the disparity in strength between them was so big that he showed completely no resistance. In the camp of the Holy Emperor Palace, the muscular and stocky elder continued to fix his attention on Jian Wushuang. His pupils constricted when he saw the heavy force of gale and thunderbolt gushing forth from Jiang Wushuang's body. Is that the wrath of gale and thunderbolt? As one of the superior second-grade manuals in Holy Emperor Palace, it was certainly familiar to this elder. He's much stronger than Master Saint Yi Chen even though he's also in the peak of the Yang Void Realm. What's more, the origin energy which his exertions carry contain world origin and also slaughter origin previously. Jian Wushuang. Make no mistake, he's indeed Jian Wushuang. The elder's eyes projected a wicked sparkle when he thought of this. Yi Chen had dropped into a deep pit in the drill ground. When he managed to stand up scrabbling, the ray of lightning flashed once more and Jian Wushuang reappeared in front of him. This time, however, Jian Wushuang clenched his left hand and punched it with an immense power directly into Yi Chen's abdomen. Because its speed was too fast, Yi Chen had absolutely no time to resist. Bam! A low and deep voice sounded. Yi Chen spewed blood for the third time and his complexion became ghostly pale at once. My Dantian! Yi Chen felt his entire being as if struck by millions of thunderbolts and became completely desensitized. After destroying Yi Chen's Dantian, Jian Wushuang casually slapped a palm on Yi Chen. Like a dead dog, Yi Chen was flung dozens of meters away and finally landed on the drill ground. After doing all this, Jian Wushuang raised his head and looked over at Su Rou, who was fighting with Feng Daoyang in a nearby void. His callous voice began to reverberate between heaven and earth. I leave this person to you, fourth sister. You may make him die in whatever way you want. Chapter 335, Departing Unhurt. Chapter 335, Departing Unhurt. When they saw Yi Chen's Dantian being destroyed and him lying on the ground like a dead dog, everyone on the drill ground became speechless. The experts who were fighting intensely in the void above also paused their actions. Many pairs of eyes began to look downward. Chen dear. Like a raging lion, the Valley Master was especially furious. There was nothing he could do even though he had taken notice of the fight scene between Jian Wushuang and Yi Chen. As for himself, he had been fighting with old weirdo Yunyang, who was good enough to master the third stage domain of the Saint Realm. Although he was able to hold his own against the latter, he was always at a disadvantage, and thus did not have a spare hand to assist Yi Chen. The situation of the other Ice Nether Valley experts was similar to his. They did not have a spare hand and could only watch on helplessly. Fourth sister. Jian Wushuang fastened his eyes on Su Rou. At present, Su Rou's blood-red pupils remained emotionless. She slowly took a few steps forward and appeared beside Yi Chen. Yi Chen, whose dantian had been destroyed and body had been severely injured by Jian Wushuang, flailed maniacally on the ground and was completely unable to stand up. When Su Rou appeared beside him, he painfully raised his head and took a glimpse at her. His eyes no longer had the same tender affection and fondness as before, and instead contained nothing but madness. "Bitch!" grunted the man who had already gone completely insane. Su Rou remained expressionless as she looked down at him. In her hands was a huge stream of spiritual power which was forming into a long sword. Without saying a word, she pierced the sword into Yi Chen's chest after it had taken shape. "How dare you!" The Valley Master roared more furiously than ever from the void in the distance. However, his roar and fury seemed utterly powerless, for there was not even a slight pause in Su Rou's actions. Chi! The spiritual power long sword perforated Yi Chen's chest and ran through his entire body. Yi Chen's eyes widened and seemed to express an intention to break free from this ordeal. Subsequently, the grunting noise he was making began to dissipate. Master Saint Yi Chen died right at this moment. Is he dead? Having personally killed Yi Chen, Su Rou could only mutter an inaudible response, following which she revealed a trace of smile which contained immense grief and forlornness at the corner of her mouth. Soon, the dark aura on her body faded away at an astonishing speed. Her eyes began to shut before her body collapsed abruptly. Jian Wushuang acted quickly and held her up. His face sunk when he saw her ghostly pale complexion and completely defunct aura. He hurriedly took out a few elixirs and forced them down her throat. How is she? Yang Zixuan arrived beside Jian Wushuang. Not too bad. I should be able to preserve her life. Jian Wushuang replied in a deep voice. That's good. Yang Zixuan faintly nodded his head. They had known early on that Su Rou's sudden exertion of strength would cause massive harm to her own body. It was fortunate enough that her life could be preserved. Swish! 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 Wine Master, Lady Black, and company appeared in succession behind Jian Wushuang's back. The Ice Nether Valley experts also gathered together as they embraced Yi Chen's body in devastating grief. The great elder of Ice Nether Valley, Feng Daoyang, looked over at Jian Wushuang's team with an extremely cold expression on his face. Can you people leave, now that Yi Chen is dead and your aim has been achieved? If you feel that it's still not enough, we can continue to fight. Ice Nether Valley will definitely play along to the end. Feng Daoyang's heart was bleeding as he said these words. It must be understood that this time, it was Jian Wushuang and company who came with killing intent to Ice Nether Valley, destroyed the array core of Ice Nether Valley's protective array, and murdered young Valley Master Yi Chen. After everything they had done, Feng Daoyang had absolutely no way to detain them, and could only allow them to leave on their own. How embarrassing and humiliating was this? Yet, what could they do about it? Jian Wushuang's lineup was too powerful and brutal. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.